Chapter 583. Moon-Gazing City 3. Oh, I understand. Lan Ming answered, and the master and disciple returned to Carefree City together. From then on, there was another ridiculous order in Carefree City. People who knew the truth couldn't help laughing happily whenever they thought of the reason for this order. Half a month later, in the evening, Long Ruoxue and the others returned to Myriad Mountain City. "Miss, you're back." The head butler, who was cleaning the yard on the back mountain where Long Ruoxue was staying, immediately shouted happily when he saw the little peacock landing in the yard. Boo-hoo. Miss and the others had left for almost 2 months. They were finally back. If they hadn't returned, he would have gone to Carefree City to look for them. "Yes, head butler. You've worked hard." Long Ruoxue looked at Wang Long, who was helping them clean up the yard, jumped down from the little peacock's back and said, "Not at all, Mississippi, you're finally back." "I missed you so much," the head butler said excitedly. Tears welled up in his eyes, and he was about to cry. "Wang Long, I just realized today that you are so sentimental." Chung Wu, who was still sitting on the little peacock's back, couldn't help teasing when he saw the butler's appearance. "You." The head butler blushed at Chung Wu's words. He stammered for a long time but couldn't say a complete sentence, so he could only glare fiercely at Chung Wu and the others. Boo-hoo. In fact, he was jealous of them. Why could they follow Miss while he had to stay behind to look after the family? It was really too unfair. All right, stop teasing him. Everyone, rest early today. I have something to tell you tomorrow. Long Ruoxue very kindly helped Wang Long out of the predicament and told everyone. Yes, Chung Wu and the others hurriedly answered and jumped down from Little Peacock's back. However, they looked at Long Ruoxue anxiously and expectantly after coming down. "Miss, what's the matter? Tell me now, or I won't be able to sleep." Song Di mustered his courage and asked, seeing that no one dared to speak. His words made them very uneasy. "You will know tomorrow. Go and rest now," Long Ruoxue said helplessly. Alas, when did these people become so impatient? "Miss, I don't need to rest. Tell me first," the head butler said carefully. "But I have to rest. I'm tired from flying for so long." "Grandpa, do as you please," Long Ruoxue said calmly. After speaking, she directly pulled the freak back to her room. In the room, the freak gently hugged Long Ruoxue's slender waist and hugged her in his arms. He said softly, "Schwer, you're so naughty. You deliberately whetted their appetite." "There's nothing I can do. I'm really tired," Long Ruoxue said innocently. Yes. Schwer, let's rest early then," the freak hurriedly said. Boo-hoo. There were more and more light bulbs around him, and he and Schwer spent less and less time alone together. "Hee, freak, bully me," Long Ruoxue said with a naughty smile. Alas, there were too many things happening recently, and she didn't have time to bully the freak. "Schwer, then you have to be gentler." The freak lay directly on the bed cooperatively and looked at Long Ruoxue expectantly. Yes. Don't worry, I will definitely be gentle." Long Ruoxue's soft hand caressed the freak's chest after speaking. It felt really good. "Schwer, are you just touching me?" the freak said with great dissatisfaction, as if his body was on fire. "Of course." Long Ruoxue pretended to be stupid mischievously. The freak looked so cute now. Moreover, it made her want to bully him. "Schwer, this won't do." At least, the freak pulled Long Ruoxue's head down and kissed her pink and alluring lips after speaking. "Yes, freak, I'm about to suffocate," Long Ruoxue whispered after kissing for a long time. "It's okay. I'm here. They'll give you artificial respiration." The freak carefully tasted the sweetness in Schwer's mouth as he said, "Oh, it's delicious." He hadn't eaten for a long time. Boo-hoo. He wanted to eat to his full today. "Freak, I'm angry." Long Ruoxue gently pushed away the freak, hugging her after a while, her beautiful face full of dissatisfaction. Then what do you want?" The freak's little heart kept thumping, and his bright black eyes were full of puzzlement. "I want to take the initiative," Long Ruoxue said domineeringly. Then she pounced on the freak and kissed him fiercely on the lips. "Schwer, I like you taking the initiative," the freak said with great satisfaction. Then he deepened the kiss and took the initiative to open his mouth to welcome Schwer's fragrant tongue visit. Their lips and tongues intertwined, mutually helping each other. After a long while, the two reluctantly ended this sweet long kiss and hugged each other tightly to sleep. The next morning, Chengwu and the others were already waiting for Long Ruoxue and the freak in the hall when they left the room. Moreover, everyone had 2 dark circles on their faces, obviously not sleeping well. It's only been one night. Why are there so many pandas? Long Ruoxue couldn't help teasing as she looked at everyone. I didn't sleep well yesterday, Chengwu said shyly. They all had insomnia last night. Alas. Oh, why don't you go to bed now? Long Ruoxue suggested very kindly. No need. We're not sleepy. Miss, tell us quickly if you have anything. Chengwu said anxiously. There's no hurry. How can I bear to say it seeing your haggard appearance? Alas. Long Ruoxue sighed heavily. Miss, we are all men. It's okay if we don't sleep for a night. Tell us quickly if you have anything to say. Otherwise, we will continue to suffer from insomnia. Song Di said anxiously. All right then. Long Ruoxue looked at everyone in the hall with her beautiful eyes and then said indifferently, I intend to leave Myriad Mountain City. What? Miss, you're leaving. The head butler stood up excitedly and said in disbelief. Miss said that she wouldn't stay in Myriad Mountain City for long in the past, but he didn't expect her to leave so soon. Boo-hoo. What would happen to them if Miss left? Chapter 584, Moon-Gazing City 4. Miss, you don't want us anymore? Chengwu looked at Long Ruoxue pitifully like a puppy that was about to be abandoned. Miss, how can you abandon us? Song Di complained with tears in his eyes as he looked at Long Ruoxue resentfully. Miss, we are all your people. You can't abandon us. The second butler also cried, his miserable appearance as if Long Ruoxue was a heartless man who abandoned him after he started. Long Ruoxue was at a loss for words as she looked at the crying men in front of her. Alas, did they have to make it sound so ambiguous? People who didn't know better would think that she really did something wrong to them. Alas, don't be like this. You're not children anymore. Weren't you living well without me? Moreover, Myriad Mountain City is in your control now. It won't be like before. You will live well in the future, Long Ruoxue said with a sigh. That's different. No one cared about us in the past, but we're used to listening to your orders now. If you leave, I, Song Di, will be the first to be unconvinced no matter who becomes the boss in Myriad Mountain City. Song Di said resolutely. He would not submit to anyone except for Mississippi. Me too. Chengwu echoed. I'm not convinced either, the head butler said. We're all unwilling to accept this. Everyone roared in unison. Don't be like this. I told you long ago that Myriad Mountain City has nothing to do with me. Have you forgotten? Long Ruoxue reminded them. She had said that she would not interfere when they destroyed the 5 major factions, even though the head butler and Chengwu had always wanted to be lazy. Boo-hoo. Miss, you can't abandon us. We won't be able to live without you, the head butler cried. Is it that serious? Long Ruoxue was very speechless. Alas, did it have to be so exaggerated? Yes, the head butler said hurriedly. Absolutely. Chengwu agreed very much. I am going to Myriad Mountain City to train. I didn't say I won't be coming back in the future. Long Ruoxue had no choice but to use a stalling tactic. She was not sure if she would return in the future, but looking at the current situation, she had to say this. Moreover, she had some feelings for these people after being together for so long, so she didn't want them to be too sad because of her departure. Training? Will you come back? Everyone was stunned. Could they have misunderstood Miss? Miss, where are you going to train? Chengwu asked very cautiously. Not sure yet. Wherever we go counts. Long Ruoxue said. The Boundless Heaven continent was very big, and there were many places suitable for training. However, they would probably choose a relatively small and dangerous place. After all, the strength of her elder brother and the others were not very high. Miss, then let me accompany you. Chengwu said schemingly. Hee. If he followed Miss wouldn't be able to shake him off. Miss, I'll go with you too. Songdi said quickly, also reacting. I want to go too. Everyone quickly said. They were not stupid and knew that it was safer to follow Long Ruoxue. Otherwise, they might be abandoned again. The place we're going isn't suitable for you, Long Ruoxue said weakly. They were going to train. What was the point of bringing such a group of mystic sovereigns? Miss, we also need experience, Chengwu said shamelessly. The place we're going won't be very dangerous. What can you gain from training? Long Ruoxue couldn't help asking. Alas, they might have stayed for a few more days if Myriad Mountain City was still the chaotic Myriad Mountain City from before. However, no one dared to challenge them in Myriad Mountain City now, so there was no need to stay here. Miss, I really need your guidance, the head butler said sincerely. Boo-hoo. Miss didn't bring him along when she went to Carefree City last time. He should be included in this experience. You're already an adult and don't need my guidance anymore. 2 drops of cold sweat dripped down Long Ruoxue's forehead as she thought, can't you not be like this? Alas. Miss, can't we go and give you a beating if you go for training? We won't attack easily even if you encounter danger unless you ask us to attack. Is that okay? Chengwu said as he racked his brains. No. You are all mystic sovereigns. How can I let you do odd jobs? Fengde and the others are enough, Long Ruoxue said with firm will. She would not bring them along. Just as Empty said, it would be a little inconvenient for them to enter the space if she brought them along. In addition, Myriad Mountain City needed them more. Since Miss is determined, we want Force Mississippi. We will guard Myriad Mountain City for Mississippi. Miss has to return early. The head butler suddenly became understanding. Chengwu and the others glared at him angrily, as if he had said something he shouldn't have said as soon as he finished speaking. Miss, we'll take our leave first, the head butler said and pulled Chengwu and the others out of the hall. Lass, are you really not bringing them along? The little old man, who was sitting in the hall without saying a word after the main butler and the others left, asked a little reluctantly. Alas, Lass was still amazing. She had subdued such a group of loyal subordinates not long after coming to Myriad Mountain City. Yes, they are more suitable staying here, Long Ruoxue said. Alas. In fact, she was relatively satisfied with Chengwu and the others after interacting with them for the past few days. However, she couldn't bring them along because Myriad Mountain City needed them more. It was impossible for Long Ruoxue to take all these people from Myriad Mountain City, and Chengwu and the others were the pillars of Myriad Mountain City. If she took them away, Myriad Mountain City would become an empty shell. This way, other forces would quickly snatch Myriad Mountain City, and everything they had done previously would be in vain. Yes, Myriad Mountain City really can't do without them now. The little old man knew the situation in Myriad Mountain City better than anyone, so he agreed with Long Ruoxue. Chapter 585, Moon Gazing City, 5. Miss, when are we leaving? Zheng An asked. In fact, he could understand Zheng An and the others' feelings very well. Moreover, he was very glad to be able to follow Miss. The day after tomorrow, Long Ruoxue said after some thought. There were some things she needed to explain. Miss, I'll go see if there's anything to prepare, Zheng An said. Then he stood up and left the hall. Yes, Grandpa, do you intend to travel with us or stay in Myriad Mountain City? Long Ruoxue nodded, and then turned to ask the little old man. Lass, of course I'm leaving with you. Do you want to abandon me too? The little old man asked pitifully with a bitter face. How can that be? Long Ruoxue's forehead was full of black lines. She thought, Grandpa, why are you like this too? The little old man is Zheng An's master, so she can't not bring him along even if she wants to. That's good. Boo-hoo, the little old man said with a sigh of relief. Grandpa, let's set off the day after tomorrow. Do you have anything to prepare? Long Ruoxue asked. No, I've always brought all my belongings with me. I can go wherever I want. The little old man explained. In fact, no powerhouse like them would stay in one place for too long. Therefore, many people would bring everything with them even if they had a fixed residence. Oh, Grandpa, have a good rest for the next 2 days, Long Ruoxue reminded. There wouldn't be much time to rest after going out for training. Yes. Lass, don't worry about me. I'll take care of myself, the little old man promised. Okay, Grandpa do, let's take a walk outside. Long Ruoxue nodded slightly and left the hall with the freak. After Long Ruoxue and the freak left the hall, they didn't disturb anyone. They quietly left their residence and arrived at the inner city of Myriad Mountain City. Walking on the streets of the inner city, Long Ruoxue looked at the bazaar, which was obviously much more lively than before, and was very satisfied with the current situation. She knew that this was all the credit of the head butler and the others because they really treated Myriad Mountain City as their home. Schwer, where are we going? The freak couldn't help asking curiously when he saw that Schwer only looked around without any destination. We're not going anywhere. Freak, we can go back, Long Ruoxue said with a light smile. So soon? The freak said in disbelief. Yes, I've seen everything I want to know, Long Ruoxue said with a smile. Then let's go back, the freak said. A good man listened to his wife. Long Ruoxue nodded and then summoned the little peacock. The two of them sat on the little peacock's back and returned to their residence in the back mountain. Miss, you went out? Zhang Yin said in surprise when he saw the little peacock landing in front of him in the yard. Yes, I went out for a walk. Zhang Yin, get the head butler to see me. Long Ruoxue jumped down from the little peacock's back and ordered directly while pulling the freak into the hall. Yes, Zhang Yin answered and left. After a while, the head butler came to the hall with Zhang Yin. Miss, what's the matter? The head butler asked curiously when he saw Long Ruoxue sitting in the hall. Head butler, we'll leave the day after tomorrow. I have something to tell you before we leave, Long Ruoxue said bluntly. Miss, please instruct me, the head butler said very respectfully. Everything I want to say is in this letter. Open it after I leave. In addition, distribute the things in here to Cheng Wu and the others. Long Ruoxue gave him a storage ring after handing him a letter. Yes, Mississippi. Is there anything else? The head butler asked. Not for now, Long Ruoxue said after some thought. What she wanted to say had been written in the letter just now, so there was nothing else to say. Then I'll take my leave first, the head butler said hurriedly. Okay. Long Ruoxue nodded. Schwer, don't you think that the head butler is a little strange? The freak sensed the urgency in the head butler's departure and asked in puzzlement. Really? Freak, are you thinking too much? Long Ruoxue said nonchalantly. Maybe, the freak said doubtfully. Zhang Yan, hold a farewell banquet tonight. They'll send Fengda and the others to you later. This will be kept secret for now. Long Ruoxue thought for a while and said to Zhang Yin, alas, perhaps it was because she was leaving. She was actually a little sad. Yes, miss, Zhang Yin answered happily. He hadn't known Cheng Wu and the others for long, but they got along very well. Moreover, Cheng Wu and the others specially went to Carefree City to save him, so he was very grateful to Cheng Wu and the others. Then, with a thought, Long Ruoxue moved Fengda, the others, and the beasts out of the bracelet. Miss, leave the farewell banquet tonight to us. Fengda immediately said to Long Ruoxue as soon as he emerged. They had heard what Miss said in the space just now, and Qingju had brought them a lot of food. Okay, prepare a sumptuous meal. Tell me directly if you need anything, Long Ruoxue ordered. Miss, just leave it to us. Fengda patted his chest and promised. Okay. After preparing for nearly an afternoon, Fengda and the others finally prepared the farewell banquet. Zhang An took the initiative to invite the main butler and the others after preparing. Zhang An, why is Miss looking for us again? The head butler beside Jing En asked in bewilderment. Miss is leaving. Of course she wants to talk to you. Why? Are you unwilling to come? Zhang En teased with a naughty smile. That's not what I mean. I'm just curious what's the matter, miss? The head butler hurriedly explained. Boo-hoo. How could Jing En wrong him? How wronged would he be if Miss heard and misunderstood? You'll know when we get there, Zhang En said mysteriously. Chapter 586, Moon-Gazing City, 6, Don't. Why don't you reveal a little to us first? I'm nervous if you continue like this, the head butler said pitifully. I don't know either, huh? Zhang En couldn't help laughing out loud seeing the head butler's little wife-like appearance. Everyone had already arrived at the yard where Long Ruoxue and the others were staying. Chung Wu and the others were dumbfounded when they saw the table in the yard and the food on it. What did this mean? What is this? The head butler asked foolishly after reacting. Food, head butler. Don't tell me you don't even recognize food anymore, Feng De teased with a smile. I know him, the head butler said shyly. Boo-hoo. How embarrassing. Then quickly take a seat. They'll go get Miss, Feng De said not far away and left after speaking. Okay, take a seat quickly. Miss specially prepared this for you, Zheng En urged. However, no one sat down. Instead, they looked at Jingyan pitifully. What are you doing? There's no banquet that won't end. Calm down. Zheng En almost lost his composure in the face of everyone's gazes. Everyone, take a seat. This is Miss' token of appreciation. After a while, Chung Wu sighed softly and was the first to sit down. Then, Song Di and the others sat down one after another. When Long Ruoxue and the freak walked out of the room, they saw Chung Wu and the others sitting in chairs with worried expressions on their faces. Don't be like this, okay? Long Ruoxue and the freak found a seat and sat down, saying with some dissatisfaction, Alas, did they have to make her uncomfortable too? Miss, what banquet is this? Chung Wu asked fearfully. Boo-hoo. Hopefully, it was not a farewell banquet. Miss, as the saying goes, there are no good banquets. Just say it directly. We can bear it, the head butler said with a face as though he was facing death. You're thinking too much. We're leaving the day after tomorrow. Can't I treat you to a meal before we leave? 2 drops of cold sweat dripped down Long Ruoxue's forehead as she said, not knowing whether to laugh or cry. Alas, she really couldn't say the words farewell banquet seeing them like this. Miss didn't treat us to a meal the last time she went to Carefree City, the head butler said doubtfully. Boo-hoo. This meal was definitely abnormal. The last time we went was short, but this time is uncertain. Long Ruoxue said very patiently. Miss, we really don't want to eat this meal, Song Di said weakly. For some reason, he felt that he would never see Miss again after eating this meal. No, everything is ready. It would be a waste if we don't eat, Long Ruoxue said with slight displeasure. Alas, she really couldn't do anything to these people. Can't we eat? Chung Wu said aggrievedly, his expression as if Long Ruoxue had bullied them. Then eat quickly. Zheng En and Feng De prepared this food for the entire afternoon. Long Ruoxue reminded. Eat. Eat. Chung Wu and the others said to each other, but none of them were happy. Everyone held food in their hands and sent it absent-mindedly into their mouths while drinking fiercely without saying a word. Schwer, did you get someone to drug the food? Look at how painful they are eating. The freak looked at Schwer beside him and teased with a light smile. Alas, no one is allowed to sleep until you finish this food today. Long Ruoxue sighed heavily and ordered helplessly. Yes, everyone answered weakly and then focused on attacking the food. At first, everyone was very depressed. However, after a few glasses of wine, Chung Wu and the others began to talk. However, they hugged their heads and cried after a few sentences. Alas, freak, let's go back to our room. Long Ruoxue couldn't take it anymore and couldn't help saying to the freak, Okay, Zheng En, they'll leave this place to you. The freak pulled Schwer to her feet and ordered Zheng En and the others. Yes, we will watch over them, Zheng En hurriedly promised. Alas, his mood was affected by Chung Wu and the others. Chung Wu and the others had drunk a lot. The next day, Long Ruoxue and the others emerged from their rooms and saw them lying on the ground, sleeping soundly. They slept for a day after getting someone to send them back to their rooms. Long Ruoxue and the others had already left by the time they woke up. 10 days later, Long Ruoxue and the others arrived at Moon Gazing City. Moon Gazing City was a larger city on the boundless heaven continent. The reason why it was called Moon Gazing City was that this city belonged to the Guanyu. Guanyu literally translates to moon gazing. The Guanyu family might not be as strong as the 3 great superfamilies, but it could also be considered a top family on the boundless heaven continent. Schwer, this moon gazing city is indeed a big city. It's much livelier than the few cities we've passed these few days. Long Ruhan couldn't help but exclaim as he looked at the bustling crowd on the street. Big brother, Let's find an inn first, Lung Ruashua suggested. She knew that everyone was very curious about the boundless heaven continent, so they couldn't help wanting to take a look anxiously after reaching every place. Okay, Lung Ruhan said shyly. He actually forgot to look for the inn. Lung Ruashue and the others walked along the streets to look for inns. However, after looking for several inns, they found that all the inns they wanted to stay in were full. This couldn't help but make her feel a little strange. Swear, this is the last inn in the Guanyu family. We will have to sleep on the streets if it's full. The freak looked at the 3-story high inn in front of him with a map in his hand and said to Lung Ruashue. Lung Ruashue looked up at the tall and gorgeous inn in front of her. The plaque on the inn had the words Moon Gazing Restaurant written in golden words. The gilded words shone with a beautiful color under the sunlight. There was a small moon in the lower right corner of the plaque, and this was the emblem of the Guanyu family. Chapter 587. The Case Caused by a Dessert, 1. Schwer. Looks like this is the inn owned by the Guanyu family. Lung Ruhan, who was also looking at the inn, said, Yes, big brother, freak, empty. Let's go in and see if there are any more rooms. Lung Ruashua suggested. Then she pulled the freak into the inn first. Because it was afternoon and the meal time had passed, there were not many people in the dining hall on the first floor of the inn at this time. However, after Lung Ruashua, the freak, Lung Ruhan, and the others walked in, they still attracted the attention and amazement of the people in the hall. Lung Ruashua and the others walked in as if no one was around and went directly to the front desk. The shopkeeper was settling scores at the counter. After sensing that someone was blocking the sunlight in front of him, the shopkeeper looked up with slight displeasure and was about to flare up, but he was stunned when he saw the person in front of him. Miss, do you want to eat or stay? After coming back to his senses, the shopkeeper looked at the absolutely beautiful girl in front of him with a stunned face and was indescribably shocked in his heart. Which family's young lady was this? She was so beautiful that it was difficult to describe with words. He had been the shopkeeper of the inn for many years, and he had seen many young ladies from the major families who came to stay in the inn, but none of them could be compared to the person in front of him. Stay, Lung Ruashua said lightly, her beautiful eyes gently looking at the person in front of her. This shopkeeper looked to be around 40 years old and had a very ordinary appearance, but his small eyes were relatively shrewd. Moreover, he was also a mystic. His strength might only be an elementary mystic, but he must be formidable to be able to be the shopkeeper of such a large inn. Miss, I'm really sorry. There have been more people coming to Guanyu City recently, so the rooms in the inn are very nervous. There's only one luxurious suite in this shop now. I'm afraid it can't accommodate so many of you, the shopkeeper said with an apologetic face. It's okay. Let's get a room, Lung Ruashua said nonchalantly. One room was enough for them. Miss, there are only 3 rooms in the suite. What about the others? The shopkeeper couldn't help asking. 3 rooms are enough. My subordinates can find any place to sleep outdoors. There's no need for shopkeepers to worry, Lung Ruashua said speechlessly, thinking that this shopkeeper was being too nosy. All right then. Please follow me. The shopkeeper left the front desk and led Lung Ruashua and the others up the stairs to the 3rd floor. Then he pointed at the innermost room on the 3rd floor and said to them, This is the room. Thank you, shopkeeper. Please don't disturb us if there's nothing important, Lung Ruashua reminded the shopkeeper. Okay. If you want to eat, you can come to the hall on the 1st floor or call me at any time. There's a voice transmission device in the room, the shopkeeper reminded. Then he bowed very politely and turned to go downstairs. After the shopkeeper left, Lung Ruashua pushed open the door of the suite and walked in directly, and the others naturally followed closely behind. Lung Ruashua's beautiful eyes sized up this luxurious suite. This was the first time they were staying in the best room since coming to the boundless heaven continent. The entire room was mainly white, looking relatively elegant and unique, giving people a very comfortable feeling. Miss, this place is not bad. It's even more luxurious than the carefree pavilion we once lived in, Zhengyin said excitedly, his eyes looking around. No matter how good this place is, it can't compare to Carefree Hall. Icy, which was pretending to be asleep in Long Ruox's arms, opened its ice-blue eyes with displeasure and said disdainfully after hearing Zheng Yin's words. Zheng Yin was speechless. Why did I wake this little ancestor up? Don't bite me. Disciple, little Icy is right. The Carefree Pavilion is the top inn in the boundless heaven continent. Moreover, in the entire continent, only the Carefree Pavilion can compare to the inns owned by the three great superfamilies, the little old man hurriedly explained. Alas, he was also afraid that his good disciple would be bitten by a dog. One had to know that this puppy would not recognize anyone when it bit him. Zheng Yin, we live in an ordinary guest room at Carefree Hall, but this one is luxurious, Long Ruoxue said with a light smile. Miss, I forgot. Zheng Yin scratched his head shyly. Which one of you wants to stay here? Long Ruoxue asked as she sized up Feng De and the others. Miss, I don't live here, Feng De was the first to say. This place couldn't compare to Miss Space no matter how good it was. He still had to return to cultivate. Me neither. Lin Yuan and the others expressed that no one wanted to stay in this luxurious guest room. Big brother? Long Ruoxue turned her gaze to Long Ruhan and asked. Shuer, I don't live here either, Long Ruhan said. Shuer was already a mystic monarch, so he couldn't be too far behind his sister. Therefore, he had the same idea as Feng De and the others. He wanted to enter the space to cultivate. Grandpa Du, what about you? Long Ruoxue looked at the little old man and asked. She had already brought the little old man into the space after leaving Myriad Mountain City. The little old man's reaction when he entered the space for the first time was similar to Zheng Yin's. He looked at the precious herbs he knew or didn't know and didn't want to come out at all. Lass, I definitely won't stay here. I want to enter the space to guard those cute herbs, the little old man said excitedly. His heart was with those herbs even though he was outside now. Then go in. I, the freak, and Empty will stay outside, Long Ruoxue said helplessly. Alas, Feng De and the others were now cultivating with unprecedented enthusiasm. The little old man and Zheng Yin were herbalists. It seemed like no one was willing to stay in this luxurious suite except the three of them. Shuer, I don't want to either. Empty looked at Shuer aggrievedly, but Long Ruoxue interrupted him. Then there's no one in the room. They'll stay in one room with the freak, you in one room, and Icy in another. It's settled, Long Ruoxue said without hesitation. Little Snowy, I want to go back to my space to sleep. Icy raised its eyes and protested. Little Icy, you're just sleeping. It doesn't matter where you sleep. Don't object, Long Ruoxue said domineeringly. Little Snowy, you don't respect the rights of a beast. Boo-hoo. I'm going to sue you. Icy's blue eyes welled up with tears as it complained. Chapter 588. The Case Caused by a Dessert 2. Where do you want to sue me at? Long Ruoxue asked, not knowing whether to laugh or cry. Icy was stunned. Yes, where could it sue? Haha. Stay outside obediently. They'll let you eat the silver snow fish tomorrow. How about that? Long Ruoxue coaxed. She believed that little Icy would definitely not be able to withstand the temptation of the silver snow fish. Okay, I want to eat one myself. Icy bargained. It almost drooled when it heard about the silver snow fish. Can you finish it? Long Ruoxue said speechlessly. This foodie actually wanted to finish a few kilograms of silver snow fish by itself. Wasn't it afraid of being bloated? Of course I can. My appetite is very big. I've only been eating half full, Icy said aggrievedly, its ice blue eyes looking at Long Ruoxue pitifully. Are you trying to say that I abused you and didn't let you eat until you were full? 2 drops of cold sweat dripped down Long Ruoxue's forehead uncontrollably as she said helplessly. Icy's little stomach bulged every time it ate, and it was impossible to walk without hugging it. It actually dared to say that it was half full. No, little Snowy is the best. Why would it abuse me? Icy hurriedly said with a fawning face. Boo-hoo. It just wanted to pretend to be pitiful and fight for some benefits for itself. It couldn't let little Snowy misunderstand. Is this sincere? Long Ruoxue raised Icy in front of her and asked lightly. Yes, absolutely. Little Snowy is the best, Icy said seductively. Its two front claws gently hugged Long Ruoxue's arm, and its little head kept rubbing against her wrist. Little Icy, forget it this time. They'll spank you, but if you're so heartless next time, Long Ruoxue threatened, her beautiful face full of displeasure. Don't spank my butt. It's very embarrassing. Icy pouted pitifully. Boo-hoo. It was the famous beautiful beast of the Qilin race. How could it face others in the future if little Snowy spanked it? I won't call as long as you're good, Long Ruoxue said with a light smile. Little Snowy, when did I not behave? I have always been well behaved. Icy complained. I mean in the future, Long Ruoxue said with a smile. It'll be good. Icy raised its front paw and promised. Alas, it had let down the Qilin race. It didn't have the might of a Qilin at all in front of little Snow. Okay. Long Ruoxue nodded with satisfaction. Then she brought everyone and little Icy into the bracelet with a thought. After entering the bracelet, Long Ruhan and the others immediately returned to their rooms to cultivate. Zhang Yin and the little old man went straight to the medicinal field, and Long Ruoxue and the others sat down on the stone chairs in front of the purple bamboo hut. Schwer, let's take a walk on the streets of moon-gazing city later, Empty suggested. Okay. By the way, did you notice anything amiss? Long Ruoxue asked doubtfully. Really? I didn't notice, Empty said with a light smile, a trace of understanding flashing in his bright black eyes. Me neither, the freak echoed. In his eyes, anything that was not dangerous to Schwer was nothing. Oh, let's go shopping now, Long Ruoxue said. Alas, perhaps she was being paranoid. She kept feeling that someone was tailing them in the dark. She didn't know who it was, but she shouldn't have any ill intentions toward them. Okay. The freak and Empty nodded. Long Ruoxue walked out of the room with the two of them and the beast. When they passed the hall on the first floor, the shopkeeper saw Long Ruoxue and the others and hurriedly walked to them and asked, Do you want to eat or go out? Shopkeeper, we want to go out for a walk. Do you have any good recommendations? Empty asked calmly. Haha, it's really the right time for you to come to our moon-gazing city. Now is the most lively time in our moon-gazing city. Otherwise, all the inns in the city wouldn't be full, the shopkeeper said with a face full of pride. Why? Could there be something important in moon-gazing city? Empty asked curiously. Of course there is. In a few days, it will be the annual Flower Appreciation Festival in our moon-gazing city. Many families will come to participate at that time, the shopkeeper said happily. What's a flower appreciation event? Long Ruoxue asked in puzzlement. Did people in this world also like to raise flowers? Famous flowers and beautiful women are considered flowers. If Miss participates, you will definitely win, the shopkeeper said with certainty. He thought very highly of this young lady. Can married women participate too? Long Ruoxue asked lightly. What kind of flower appreciation event was this? Those famous flowers were probably just a foil. Beauty was the most important. Of course not, the shopkeeper said honestly. The main reason why Moon-Gazing City held the flower viewing convention every year was to communicate with the major families. To put it bluntly, it was a matchmaking convention indirectly held for the major families. Therefore, married women were naturally not allowed to participate. Then I won't have a chance. I'm already married, Long Ruoxue said with regret. She didn't want those perverted stinky men to judge her. Miss is already married? Miss doesn't look old? The shopkeeper didn't believe Long Ruoxue's words and couldn't help asking doubtfully. I've been married for several years. He's my husband. Long Ruoxue pointed at the freak, the happiness on her face obvious. Oh, then congratulations, miss, the shopkeeper said with some regret. Alas, he had long seen that their relationship was very intimate, but he really didn't expect them to be married. However, speaking of which, these two were really quite compatible. The woman was drop-dead gorgeous, and the man was even more handsome than their young master. What an enviable immortal couple. Thank you, shopkeeper. Let's go out for a walk, the freak said in a good mood. Then he hugged Schwer's slender waist and threw Empty to the side. The two of them strode out of the inn. You two are disloyal. Why did you leave by yourselves? Empty, who was ignored on the street outside the inn, caught up with Long Ruashue and the freak and complained. Chapter 589. A case caused by a dessert. 3. You're a light bulb. Stay away. Don't interfere with the sweetness between us husband and wife. The freak hugged Long Ruashue and looked at Wayless with disdain. Are you married? Empty rolled his eyes and asked speechlessly. TCH, didn't you hear what Schwer said? We've been married for several years, the freak said proudly, his handsome face full of excitement. Schwer was just saying it casually to deal with that shopkeeper. Did you take it seriously? Empty reminded kindly. Schwer, were you joking? The freak pouted with great dissatisfaction, and tears flashed in his dazzling starry eyes. No, Long Ruashue answered simply, her beautiful face full of helplessness. However, since she had already locked onto the freak, there was naturally no need to deny it. See, the freak was smug. The stunning smile on his handsome face made heaven and earth lose color. Schwer is just coaxing you, Empty deliberately retorted. Alas, he just couldn't bear to see the freak so smug. This was obviously agitating him, a lonely person. You can't sow discord between me and Schwer. Humph, the freak said very confidently. Are you two done arguing? Long Ruashue couldn't bear it anymore. Alas, these two men couldn't find a suitable place to bicker no matter what. Two peerless handsome men arguing on the streets would attract many people to watch. We didn't quarrel, the freak and Empty immediately said as if the two men who were fighting like chickens just now had nothing to do with them. Let's leave this place quickly. Long Ruashue didn't expose them and said directly. Alas, the three of them had already attracted many strange gazes now. She didn't want to be surrounded by others. Oh, then let's go quickly. Empty also felt that something was amiss and hurriedly urged. Schwer, which way should we go? The freak asked as he looked at the roads on both sides. Empty? Long Ruashue stared at Empty and asked. Don't look at me. I don't know either. The changes on the continent are too big now. I don't know many places anymore. Empty shrugged and said helplessly. Boo-hoo. How could this be? Then let's go to the right. Long Ruashue said after some thought. They had found this inn from the left when they came, and they had not turned to the right yet. Yes. The freak and Empty nodded slightly in agreement. After deciding, the three of them walked toward the right street. Little Snowy, I smell something delicious. Hurry up and eat. Icy, which was lying in Long Ruakshue's arms, suddenly opened its ice-blue eyes and said impatiently after walking for a while. You glutton. You just finished eating lunch, and you still want to eat now? Can you be a little more promising? Long Ruashue said speechlessly. Icy should have eaten a lot of delicious things. How could it be seduced by the food outside? She really couldn't understand. I'm hungry. Little Snowy, this smell is really fragrant. Let's pay for it. Icy pleaded pitifully. All right. Long Ruashue really couldn't bear to refuse seeing the pleading in Icy's blue eyes. Alas, she had always been helpless against cute beasts. Schwer, the fragrance should be coming from there. Empty pointed at an inconspicuous road. Okay, let's go take a look. Long Ruashue said. The freak and Empty nodded, and the three of them and the beast followed the scent toward the trail. The road was not long, and there was only one shop at the end. At this moment, many people had gathered outside the shop. Almost everyone stretched their necks as if they were waiting for something. Long Ruashue looked up at the plaque. So this was a shop that specialized in selling snacks. The crowd outside the door were actually waiting to buy snacks. It was probably not easy to see the scene of queuing on the boundless heaven continent. Little Snowy, let's line up quickly, Icy said anxiously. Boo-hoo. This smell was really too fragrant. Little Icy, it's just a snack. There's nothing delicious, Long Ruashue said without much interest. Hey, what do you know? This fragrance village is the best snack shop in our boundless heaven continent. Long Ruakshue's words immediately aroused the dissatisfaction of a fan in the queue and reprimanded with an angry face. Is it really that good? Lung Ruoshua said doubtfully. It smelled delicious, but she didn't know if it was worthy of its name. Of course, the fan said proudly, as if this shop was owned by his family. Little Icy, let's not buy any more. There are too many people. Lung Ruoshua looked at the long queue, and her head hurt. All right then. Icy nodded obediently, and then looked at Lung Ruoshua, pitifully as if to say, Little Snowy, it'll be good. They'll cook for you when we get back. Lung Ruoshua sighed helplessly. Yes, yes. Icy immediately nodded happily. Hee, this was what it was waiting for. In fact, to be honest, the snacks in this shop might not be as delicious as Little Snowy's. However, Little Snowy was too lazy to make them. Therefore, it had to make do. Who wanted the snacks outside now that Little Snowy was willing to make them? Then let's go. Lung Ruoshua turned to the Freak and Wayless. Yes. The Freak and Empty nodded. The three of them turned and were about to leave when they were stopped by a man who walked out of the shop. Miss, please wait. The man hurriedly ran to them when he saw Lung Ruoshua and the others leaving. What's the matter? Lung Ruoshua was a little puzzled, not knowing why this middle-aged man who looked like a steward stopped them. Miss, these are our Floating Fragrance Village's signature snacks. They'll give them to you to try, the middle-aged man said very politely and then handed over the boxes of snacks in his hand. Thank you for your good intentions, but we don't need it anymore, Lung Ruoshua said very cautiously. As the saying went, one's mouth was short when eating. She was not related to this shop, so she didn't dare to casually accept the things they gave her. Miss, my young master asked me to give it to you to try. I can't explain it if you don't want it, the middle-aged man said awkwardly. Chapter 590. The Case Caused by a Dessert. 4. That's your problem. I don't know your young master, Lung Ruoshua said coldly after hearing what the middle-aged man said. Then she gave the Freak and Empty a look, and the three of them left without looking back. After Lung Ruoshua and the others left, the middle-aged man looked at the snacks he didn't give away and sighed softly before returning to the shop to report. In a room in Fragrance Village. Young master, that young lady refused. The middle-aged man braced himself and said, Alas, he knew the young master's temper very well. He didn't do the things the young master ordered this time, and he didn't know what kind of punishment he would receive. Got it. Go out. The young master said softly. Yes. The middle-aged man was stunned for a moment, but he quickly reacted and hurriedly said, Who? The young master actually didn't punish him. It was too unbelievable. Thinking of this, he hurriedly retreated. It's so rare that you're not angry. Another young man in the room couldn't help teasing. The man who spoke was about 20 years old. He was handsome, refined, and had an extraordinary temperament. His beautiful eyes were warm like jade, and they were so gentle that they seemed to melt people. He was a mystic monarch even though he was very young. He was currently looking at another man with a spurious smile. What's there to be angry about? He'll only be angry if she takes it, the teased man said nonchalantly. The her he was referring to was naturally Lung Ruoshua. Your way of thinking is really abnormal. Which man doesn't want the woman he likes to like his gift? The young man said in puzzlement. Those are just a few boxes of snacks. They're not considered gifts. Luo Fei, it's your thinking that's strange. The man said. Perhaps. Alas. The gift from the mighty young master of the Guanyu family was actually refused for the first time. Hee, if your admirers knew about this, they would be so sad. The man named Luo Fei teased happily. Alas. His limelight had been suppressed by Guanyu, since he was young. He finally saw him embarrassed today. It was really satisfying. I told you, that's not a gift. Guanyu, she whispered through gritted teeth. Alas. Luo Fei finally saw him being the joke today. How depressing. 0. Find out their whereabouts. Guanyu, she ordered the void. However, no one answered. What answered him was a light breeze. After the three of them left Fragrance Village, they arrived at the busiest street in Moon-Gazing City. It was not evening, but the street was already crowded and crowded. Haha, as expected of the busiest place in Moon-Gazing City. How lively. Empty couldn't help exclaiming as he looked at the pedestrians walking around. Yes, Empty, let's leave this place quickly, Lung Ruoshue said helplessly. There were too many people on the streets, and many people were already surrounding them and criticizing them. Wow, that woman is so beautiful. Yes, I will definitely vote for her if she participates in the flower viewing convention. Those two men are so handsome. If I can marry one of them, I can die happy. The one who said this was obviously a love-struck fool. You don't even deserve to carry his shoes. Another woman's disdainful voice immediately sounded, just as the love-struck fool finished speaking. Wang Xiaohua, who are you saying isn't worthy? Am I not worthy? Why don't you take a look at your character in the mirror? The love-struck fool immediately roared like a shrew. At least I look better than you. The woman called Wang Xiaohua roared back, unwilling to be outdone. The two of them directly quarreled on the streets. Immediately, the gazes of the pedestrians on the streets turned from Long Ruoshue and the others to the two of them and watched the commotion excitedly. The discussions of the pedestrians on the street and the argument of the two women entered Long Ruoshue and the others' ears without missing anything. Their gazes collided, and then they turned back the way they came very tacitly. Schwer, let's go back to the inn quickly. The people of Moon-Gazing City are really too terrifying, Empty said with a face full of fear, especially when he thought of the woman who said that she wanted to marry him or the freak. The hair on his body stood on end from fright. Haha, men are really a source of trouble. However, that woman can only marry you if she wants to marry. Lung Ruoshue teased with a light smile. Hee, it was rare to see Empty being embarrassed. She was really too happy. Why? Empty asked foolishly. Because I'm Schwer's. The freak looked at Wayless like he was looking at an idiot, his handsome face full of pride. Hee, it was good to be a man with an owner. His safety was guaranteed. Don't be smug. Schwer is also a disaster, Empty reminded. What do you mean? Schwer is mine. They'll kill whoever steals her. The freak roared furiously. Anyone who dared to snatch a woman from him would be eliminated. The person who brought snacks to Schwer just now seems to be some young master, right? Empty asked, his handsome face full of schadenfreude. So what? My Schwer is so beautiful. It's normal to be secretly liked by some self-indulgent men, the freak said without jealousy. In fact, he had already made up his mind. It would be good if he could retreat in the face of difficulties if he dared to snatch Schwer from him. However, if he refused to realize his mistakes, then don't blame him for being ruthless. He would destroy whoever robbed him. You're actually not jealous, Empty said with a face full of surprise as if he had discovered a new continent. This was really too abnormal. A man who was even jealous of the Schwer beast actually showed no signs of being jealous in the face of an unfamiliar love rival. Was this normal? TCH, if I'm jealous of a stranger, that doesn't matter. Wouldn't I be jealous to death a long time ago? The freak said confidently. In fact, the reason why he was not jealous of strange men was because he knew that Schwer would not fancy other men casually. Thinking back, how many plans did he think of when he stuck to Schwer? In the end, he realized that Schwer was at her wits' end when pretending to be pitiful to the people or beasts around her. Therefore, he finally relied on Schwer without letting everyone down. That makes sense. Empty nodded in agreement. It seemed like he didn't know this freak very well. Chapter 591. The Case Caused by a Dessert, 5. Of course it makes sense. By the way, Schwer, where are we going? The freak asked very proudly. Let's go back to the inn. Let's eat something in the hall, and then go back to our rooms to rest. Lung Ruoshue said after some thought. The food in the space was incomparably delicious, but she still wanted to try the local delicacies everywhere. Okay. I'm hungry. Icy nodded in agreement. You're a foodie. Lung Ruoshue was a little helpless. Why didn't Icy eat or sleep? Food is everything to the people. Sleeping is for cultivation. Icy said matter-of-factly. not feeling that there was anything wrong with liking to eat and sleep. Schwerer, let's go quickly. Wayless really didn't dare to stay on the streets anymore. Yes, haha. Long Ruashua smiled and nodded. Then the three of them and the beast returned to the moon-gazing restaurant. Why are you back so soon? Moon-gazing city is very lively. The shopkeeper couldn't help asking curiously when he saw Long Ruashua and the others entering the inn as soon as he looked up. It's a little too lively. It's not suitable for us. We prefer to keep a low profile. 2 large drops of cold sweat dripped down Long Ruaksha's forehead. Alas, they wouldn't have gone out if they knew that the citizens of Daoist Temple and Moon City were so crazy. Haha, the flower conference is about to be held. The mood of the citizens is at its peak now. The shopkeeper couldn't help saying understandingly when he saw the unnatural expressions of the three of them. Alas, with their appearance, they would definitely be surrounded and watched when they went out. He forgot to remind them just now. Yes, shopkeeper. We want to eat something. Come up if there's anything delicious, Long Ruashua said bluntly. Then the three of them and the beast found a window seat and sat down. Okay, please wait a moment, the shopkeeper said hurriedly. Then he called a waiter and ordered softly. A few minutes later, the dishes were served one by one. These are our signature dishes. Please enjoy. The shopkeeper said politely and left. Icy jumped onto the dining table impatiently as soon as the shopkeeper left. It picked up a big chicken leg and began munching on it. Long Ruashua took a few bites of each dish and stopped eating. The freak and empty were the same. Doesn't the food suit your tastes? The shopkeeper couldn't help asking in puzzlement when he saw Long Ruashua and the others casually eating a few mouthfuls of food. No, we're not too hungry, Long Ruashua said helplessly. Alas, it seemed that in the shopkeeper's eyes, the three of them were not satisfied with the dishes of moon-gazing restaurant other than Icy. Oh, the shopkeeper answered gloomily. Alas, it seemed like no one was hungry except for the puppy, which was starving and eating happily. At this moment, the waiter served another plate of exquisite snacks and placed them in front of Long Ruashua and the others. These snacks taste good. You can try them, the shopkeeper said and looked at Long Ruashua and the others expectantly. Okay. Long Ruashua braced herself and took a small piece of white dessert into her mouth under the shopkeeper's hopeful gaze. Miss, how is it? The shopkeeper couldn't help asking. Very good, Long Ruashua praised. The dishes from the moon-gazing restaurant might seem ordinary to her, but the snacks were really good. They were full of milk fragrance and melted in her mouth, neither sweet nor greasy. Haha, as long as Miss likes it, the shopkeeper said happily. Shopkeeper Ming, didn't you say that there are no more fragrant milk cakes? Why does she have them? Before Long Ruashua could say anything, they heard an unruly female voice in their ears. Long Ruashua looked in the direction of the voice and saw a woman in red standing at the staircase. She was very beautiful, but the angry expression on her exquisite and beautiful face ruined this beauty. Alas, they were looking for trouble again. Long Ruashua couldn't help but sigh. She couldn't understand why they would encounter trouble every time they ate in the hall of the inn. No, this is the last plate. It was specially reserved for Miss Long, the shopkeeper said honestly. He couldn't help frowning slightly and hiding the disgust in his heart. Miss Long? What Miss Long? Don't think you can be related to the Long family just because your surname is Long. The woman in red roared at Long Ruashua with contempt, but the jealousy in her eyes revealed her thoughts. Did I say that I'm related to the Long family? The Long family is the Long family, and me, Long Ruashua said with some displeasure. It was very unbecoming of her to bicker with such a crazy woman. However, that woman actually involved the Long family. How ridiculous. The last thing she wanted was to be related to the Long family. I don't think you have anything to do with the Long family, the woman in red said very proudly. Then she glared fiercely at the shopkeeper and roared furiously, Do you know who I am? You can stay if you want to. Why should she? Miss Wu Qianer, Miss Long is the noble shop of our inn. She lives in a luxurious suite, the shopkeeper said indifferently without even looking up. Luxurious suite? I don't believe it. Can she afford to stay in it? Wu Qin'er didn't believe the shopkeeper. In her opinion, the shopkeeper was obviously making excuses for the woman who snatched her milky fragrance cake. In her eyes, Long Ruoxue couldn't afford to stay in such an expensive guest room because she couldn't bear to. "I can't do anything if Miss Wu doesn't believe me," the shopkeeper said nonchalantly. Humph. Did Wu Qin'er really think that the position of the future young master and wife of the Guanyu family was fixed on the board? One had to know that anything could change at any time. "Damn it, what's with your attitude?" Wu Qin'er said very angrily, and she couldn't help cursing in her heart. Humph. He was just a shopkeeper, but he actually dared to treat her like this. When she became the young madam of the Guanyu family, the first person she would deal with would be him. "Miss Wu, of course I'm treating you like a guest," the shopkeeper said nonchalantly. Do you know who I am? How dare you treat me as a guest?" Wu Qin'er asked again angrily. Chapter 592. The Case Caused by a Dessert. 6. "Miss Wu, you are the daughter of the Wu family and a guest of the moon-gazing restaurant." "I know very well," the shopkeeper explained. "You?" Wu Qin'er was so angry that she couldn't say anything. Humph. She was the future young master's wife of the Guanyu family. This damn shopkeeper actually pretended to be stupid. She was really angry. "Damn it, those are my snacks. You're not allowed to eat them." Wu Qin'er took a deep breath and composed herself. She was about to defend her future status and argue with the shopkeeper when she realized that Long Ruoxue had placed another piece of fragrant milk cake in her mouth. Moreover, it was in front of her. This was obviously a provocation to her. Therefore, she was immediately angry. "Miss Wu, are you talking to me?" Long Ruoxue looked at Wu Qin'er with a spurious smile. There was no emotion on her beautiful face. Alas, why did this woman have to provoke her? "Who else can it be but you? Those are my snacks. You're not allowed to eat them." Wu Qin'er roared in anger and embarrassment. Then she pounced at Long Ruoxue. "Get lost." The freak looked at the woman pouncing at Schwer with great disdain and kicked her away without any pity for the fairer sex. Humph. Anyone who dared to bully Schwer, regardless of gender, would be eliminated. Wu Qin'er, who was not mentally prepared at all, rolled a few rounds in the hall after being kicked by the freak. Then, she rolled out of the inn's door in front of everyone. Amazing! Empty praised. He originally wanted to attack, but this freak beat him to it. Alas, why did this unlucky woman have to touch this wife-protecting maniac's weakness? Long Ruoxue was stunned when she saw Wu Qin'er rolling out of the inn in an extremely disheveled manner with her face covered in dirt. Then she couldn't help muttering in her heart, "Is this a bloody case caused by a snack?" The freak's kick wasn't light. In fact, she didn't take that woman seriously at all, but she was still very happy with the freak's protection. The shopkeeper, who was very close to them, naturally saw the freak's kick clearly. He rubbed his eyes, not believing the fact that he saw it with his own eyes. Wu Qin'er actually really rolled out of the inn. This man was really too amazing. His idol? The few people who were eating in the hall watched as the daughter of the Wu family rolled out of the inn like a ball. Their mouths were open in surprise, and their faces were full of disbelief. Everyone, she is the daughter of the Wu family." The shopkeeper wiped the cold sweat off his forehead and reminded cautiously, "We know. Didn't you say it already?" Long Ruoxue said with a light smile. Hee. So what if she was the daughter of the Wu family? She wasn't even afraid of the Lan family, let alone the Wu family. "The Wu family won't let the matter rest," the shopkeeper said helplessly. Alas. The Wu family had always been overbearing and domineering. If these people didn't have any backing, they would probably end up badly. In fact, he had a good impression of these people, so he didn't want them to become prisoners of the Wu family. "Shopkeeper, is the Wu family you're talking about very powerful?" Long Ruoxue asked in puzzlement. She had heard the most from the 3 major superfamilies and the several major headquarters on the boundless heaven continent. As for the Wu family and the like, they were rarely mentioned. The Wu family might not be comparable to our Guanyu family, but it can also be considered a top family on the boundless heaven continent, the shopkeeper explained speechlessly. Alas. So you don't know the Wu family's situation at all. Is this considered being unafraid of those who don't know? What's there to be afraid of if you can't even compare to the Guan Yu family? Lung Ruoxue said nonchalantly. She might not have any backing, but she was not even afraid of a super alligator like the Lan family, so why would she be afraid of a mere Wu family? Miss, you should be careful anyway. The Wu family is very despicable, the shopkeeper reminded kindly. Alas. This matter had something to do with him, so he really didn't want anything to happen to these people. Yes, we will be careful, Lung Ruoxue said very respectfully. She knew that this shopkeeper was doing this for their own good. This matter was triggered by a piece of dessert, but it was also an unexpected calamity. Miss, take care. I'll take my leave first, the shopkeeper said. He turned and left after speaking. Alas. He still had to send someone upstairs to inform the Wu family about Miss Wu's condition. Who should he send? He thought about it, but couldn't find a suitable person. It seemed like he had to go upstairs himself. However, before he could do anything, the Wu family had already come downstairs to look for him. Shopkeeper, have you seen my young miss? A young woman who looked like a maidservant walked to the shopkeeper, bowed, and asked softly, Didn't see her? Did Miss Wu go downstairs? The shopkeeper lied through his teeth. He hadn't thought of what to say yet. Yes. Miss said she wants to take a look downstairs, the maidservant said shyly. I'm sorry. I was busy just now and didn't notice if Miss Wu went downstairs. Why don't you ask the other waiters? The shopkeeper suggested with a very natural smile on his face. No one would suspect that he was lying through his teeth. The maidservant's gaze turned to the waiters in the hall. However, before she could ask, the waiters took the initiative to confess. We didn't see Miss Wu either. Oh, then where did Miss go? The maidservant murmured without suspicion. Then she walked out of the inn. Lung Ruoxue couldn't help looking at the shopkeeper and the waiters in amusement when she saw this scene. She thought to herself, alas, how unpopular was this Miss Wu? No one was willing to tell the truth. Little Snowy, full, Icy lay on the table with its 4 legs facing the sky after eating. Its little stomach was bulging. Oh, it was so full. It needed someone to carry it. Let's go back to our room. Lung Ruoxue resigned herself to fate and picked up Icy, which was too full to walk, and said to the freak and Wayless, Okay. The 2 stunningly beautiful men nodded, and then the 3 of them and the beast walked up the stairs and returned to their rooms as if no one was around. Lung Ruoxue immediately brought them into the bracelet after entering the room. Miss, you're back. Zheng En, who was guarding the medicinal field, hurriedly greeted Lung Ruoxue when he saw her. Then his eyes focused on a pink flower bud in the medicinal field. This herb was about to bloom. He didn't know the name of this herb, but he was still very expectant. Chapter 593. Being Kicked Out. 1. Yes, Zheng En. Where's Grandpa do? Lung Ruoxue couldn't help asking curiously when she didn't see the little old man. Master is guarding that fire lotus. I heard from Blackie and Little Black that the fire lotus is about to bloom too, Zheng En said. He had seen the 10,000-year-old fire lotus before, so he was not very interested in that fire lotus. Therefore, he had been guarding here. Zheng En, you don't have to guard here. Blackie and Qingju will deal with it themselves if the herbs mature, Lung Ruoxue reminded. Alas, how tiring would it be for them to guard here like this? Miss, this is our greatest interest, Zheng En said happily. Boo-hoo. He really wanted to build a house in the medicinal field so that he could see these cute herbs every day when he opened his eyes. Don't be too tired. Remember to rest. Lung Ruoxue didn't know what to say. Alas, what a medicine maniac. Don't worry, Mississippi. We will take note, Zheng En promised. Okay. Lung Ruoxue nodded and left the medicinal field. In front of the purple bamboo hut, the freak and Wu Zheng were sitting on stone chairs waiting for Shuer. Shuer, why are you back so soon? Aren't Zheng En and the little old man there? Empty asked curiously. Schwer went to see the two of them as soon as she returned. However, she returned so quickly. They're still here. Alas, they're alchemists. How can they not be here? Long Ruoxue said helplessly and sat down beside the freak. Were alchemists all like that? It seemed like she was not a qualified alchemist. At least, she was not as obsessed as them when she saw those precious herbs. Schwer, I wonder how the Wu family plans to deal with us? Empty's incomparably handsome face was full of anticipation. Have you been too free recently? Do you want to exercise? Long Ruoxue said speechlessly. Alas, did you have to look forward to it like this? Hee, how do you know? I've indeed been a little bored recently, Empty said honestly. Little Snowy, leave the Wu family to me. I promise to destroy them all. Icy, which was in Long Ruoxue's arms, raised its eyes slightly and interrupted. Boo-hoo. Little Snowy didn't give it a chance to attack in the recent activities. It was also depressed. Empty, little Icy, don't interfere. 2 drops of cold sweat hung on Long Ruoxue's forehead as she warned. Little Snowy, how can you do this? Icy looked at Long Ruoxue with displeasure. Boo-hoo. It had gained weight several times recently because it didn't have the chance to exercise. However, Little Snowy actually wanted to deprive it of the chance to move its legs. It was too cruel. Schwer, you can't do this. Empty said pitifully. Boo-hoo. Schwer was really too much of a bully. Please don't be like this. The Wu family might not deal with us. You're thinking too much. Long Ruoxue looked at their expressions and quickly comforted them. In fact, she had other plans. Who wants to deal with us? Long Ruhan's voice sounded from behind them. The 3 of them turned their heads and saw Long Ruhan and the others looking at them curiously. Big brother Feng, didn't you want to cultivate? Why did you come out? Long Ruoxue asked in puzzlement. Let's take a walk and relax. Schwer, does anyone want to deal with us? Long Ruhan asked curiously. I don't know either. Long Ruoxue told everyone succinctly what they had encountered on the street and in the inn. Miss, what's the background of the Wu family? Fengda asked curiously. I'm not too sure. I heard from the shopkeeper that the Wu family is also considered a top family on the Boundless Heaven continent. Long Ruoxue explained. Oh, miss, what is the flower appreciation event? Fengda continued asking curiously. To admire famous flowers and beauties, Long Ruoxue said with some disgust. In her previous life, she was not interested in beauty pageants. She didn't expect to still encounter activities similar to beauty pageants in the other world. Isn't there a beauty ranking list on the Boundless Heaven continent too? Why is there a flower viewing convention? Feng Moran asked in puzzlement. I don't know. Long Ruoxue didn't know much either. Moreover, she was not interested in such things. By the way, I told the shopkeeper that I'm already married. Remember to answer the same if anyone asks you, Long Ruoxue reminded. Yes, Mississippi. Fengda and the others quickly answered. Miss, can we see if the Flower Appreciation Festival is leaving? Lin Yuan asked carefully. Do you all want to see it? Long Ruoxue asked everyone. Yes. Fengda and the others nodded. Then go take a look. However, the Flower Appreciation Festival seems to be starting in 3 days, so stay in the space and cultivate properly for the next few days. Long Ruoxue said after some thought. Alas, it seemed like they had been bored to death recently. Such an activity could actually arouse their interest. Yes, Mississippi, we will definitely cultivate diligently and strive to advance to Great Mystic as soon as possible. Fengda and the others promised. Yes, sir. Grandpa is out of seclusion. Long Ruoxue suddenly felt her grandfather's aura and said in surprise. Grandpa is out of seclusion? Long Ruhan was also overjoyed. Boo-hoo. He hadn't seen Grandpa for a long time. He missed Grandpa so much. Hee, you stinky brats have also emerged from seclusion? You're actually all elementary mystics. Long Qingtian had already arrived behind them when his voice sounded. He was looking at his grandchildren and the others with a face full of surprise. Alas, it was good to be young. Their cultivation speed was so fast. Grandpa! Long Ruhan threw himself into Long Qingshan's arms excitedly and hugged his grandfather tightly. "Stinky brat, you are a man. How can you do this?" Lung Qingtian said uncomfortably. "Ah." His grandson rarely threw himself into his arms since he became sensible. He didn't expect to feel the long-awaited feeling again. It was really not easy. Boo-hoo. He was so excited that he was about to cry. "Grandpa!" Lung Ruhan glared at his grandfather with some dissatisfaction after being teased. "Haha, little Han is shy," Lung Qingtian said happily. Alas, it was really a great blessing in life to have grandchildren gathered and to be on their knees. Chapter 594. Being Kicked Out, 2. Grandpa, congratulations on breaking through. Lung Ruoxue also walked to her grandfather and said happily, "Shuer, your brother gave me a hug. Why didn't you give me one?" Lung Qingtian said unpleasantly. "Boo-hoo. Did his cute granddaughter despise him?" "Grandpa, it's because I haven't seen you for a long time," Lung Ruoxue said helplessly and gave Lung Qingtian a big hug. Alas, Grandpa actually threw a tantrum. That's more like it. Lung Qingtian was so beautiful after being hugged by his granddaughter. "Shuer, are those old things out yet?" Lung Qingtian continued asking after being satisfied. "They haven't come out yet. Grandpa was the first to come out," Lung Ruoxue said. "Hee, they're so slow," Lung Qingtian said proudly. "Grandpa, they'll bring you to a place to advance first," Lung Ruoxue said speechlessly. Alas, Grandpa was really becoming more and more like a child. He actually compared such things. "Just go to the place where you advanced last time," Lung Qingtian suggested. "Grandpa, we are no longer in Myriad Mountain City," Lung Ruoxue explained. Where are we then?" Lung Qingshan's face was full of question marks. He hadn't been in seclusion for long, right? Why did he leave Myriad Mountain City so quickly? "This is Moon Gazing City," Lung Ruoxue said. "Oh, Shuer, then bring Grandpa to a place to advance." Alas, Grandpa's cultivation level is much lower than yours now. Lung Qingtian pretended to be sad. He felt that his granddaughter's strength was even more unfathomable after coming out of seclusion this time, and her aura was even stronger. "Grandpa, you will be like me after you advance," Lung Ruoxue quickly comforted. "Shuer, what's your current cultivation level?" Lung Qingshan's face was full of curiosity. He should ask since he couldn't tell. "Mystic Monarch." "What? A Mystic Monarch? How did you cultivate so quickly?" Lung Qingtian was so surprised that his mouth couldn't close. This was too unbelievable. He had only been in seclusion for a while, but his granddaughter had actually become a Mystic Monarch. What kind of abnormal cultivation speed was this? It was too shocking. At this moment, he had long forgotten about obtaining the silver snow fish. "Haha, Grandpa, you know how to do it too," Lung Ruoxue said mysteriously. I still have a long time," Lung Qingtian said gloomily. "Boo-hoo." He originally thought that he could have the same cultivation level as his granddaughter after exiting seclusion. However, he realized that he was falling behind again after exiting seclusion. This was a huge blow to him. "It won't take long." Lung Ruoxue smiled evilly. "Hee, looks like Grandpa has forgotten about the existence of the silver snow pill. They'll take it as a surprise for him later." "I hope so." Lung Qingtian was a little down, but he still forced a smile. Lung Ruoxue looked at her grandfather's expression and knew that he was complaining again. However, she planned to give her grandfather a surprise, so she naturally wouldn't tell him about the existence of the silver snow pill now. Lung Shui brought the freak out of the bracelet and left the inn. She found an uninhabited corner, summoned the little peacock and Lung, and got Lung Ling to cast an invisibility spell on them before sitting on the little peacock and leaving Moon Gazing City. The little peacock flew for about an hour and found an uninhabited mountain in the northernmost part of Moon Gazing City and descended. "Master, this should be the most desolate mountain near Moon Gazing City," the little peacock said softly. "Yes, this will do," Lung Ruoxue said and moved her grandfather out of the bracelet. After coming out, Long Qingtian looked at his surroundings, found an open space, and sat cross-legged. Then he let out his beasts. After a long while, the heaven-earth laws advanced as scheduled. About half an hour later, Long Qingtian completed his advancement and officially became a great mystic. Immediately after, heaven and earth laws descended, and his beasts advanced individually. After a while, the heaven-earth laws slowly dissipated, and the advancement was temporarily over. "Grandpa, eat this." Lung Ruoxue, who had been waiting by the side, brought a silver snow pill to Long Qingtian when she saw that her grandfather had already adjusted his breathing. Okay. Lung Qingtian took the pill from his granddaughter and threw it directly into his mouth without thinking. Then he closed his eyes to regulate his breathing. However, he felt that something was amiss after a while because the spiritual energy in the pill was really too abundant. Moreover, he even felt the precursor to advance. "Shuer, what did you feed me?" Lung Qingtian couldn't help asking and carefully controlled the rampaging spiritual energy in his body. "Silver snow pill," Lung Ruoxue said with a light smile. Bad girl, why didn't you tell me earlier?" Lung Qingtian roared angrily. He had already remembered the effects of the silver snow pill. Boo-hoo. He was about to advance again without any mental preparation. The heaven-earth laws descended on this desolate mountain again, just as Long Qingtian finished complaining. His beasts naturally obtained benefits and advanced again, after Long Qingtian advanced to Mystic Queen. After all the heaven-earth laws dissipated, Long Qingtian and his beasts finished adjusting their breaths and looked at each other excitedly. "Master, I'm also a transcendent divine beast," Thunder Knight said excitedly. "Okay." Long Qingtian caressed Thunder Knight's head and nodded happily. Thunder Knight had followed him for the longest time, and their relationship was the deepest. "Grandpa, congratulations on becoming a mystic monarch." Lung Ruoxue walked to her grandfather and said with a smile, "Stinky girl, why didn't you tell me earlier?" "I wasn't prepared at all," Long Qingtian said with dissatisfaction, his handsome face full of bitterness. "Hee, Grandpa, I just wanted to give you a surprise." Lung Ruoxue hugged her grandfather's arm coquettishly. You're a bad girl. How dare those stinky brats hide from me? I won't let them go." Lung Qingtian said fiercely. "Grandpa, we all wanted to give you a surprise. How can you blame us?" Lung Ruoxue pouted her pink lips slightly and said aggrievedly. Chapter 595. Being Kicked Out, 3. This surprise is too big. You have to give me time to digest it. Lung Qingshan's tone softened. He was very happy to advance to Mystic Monarch. It was not impossible to forgive these children even though they hid it from him. "Grandpa, your cultivation level is the same as mine now," Lung Ruoxue reminded.
Yes.
Lung Qingtian nodded. "Grandpa, let's go back. I asked them to prepare a silver snow fish banquet." You haven't eaten it yet," Lung Ruoxue said ingratiatingly, hoping to divert Grandpa's attention. "Stinky girl, Grandpa can't blame you, but don't even think about running away from those stinky brats," Lung Qingtian said. He couldn't bear to hit and scold his precious granddaughter, but he didn't have so many qualms about those stinky brats. Miss, we did it for you. You can't leave us alone." Fengda and the others hurriedly sent Long Ruoxue a voice transmission after hearing Long Qingshan's words in the bracelet. Why don't you let Grandpa be humble?" Lung Ruoxue suggested. It was not that she was disloyal, but her grandfather was the one who was angry. She had to let Fengda and the others down. "Miss, we will cry if you don't save us." Lin Yuan threatened after some thought. "Then cry slowly. Grandpa might be soft-hearted." Lung Ruoxue reminded with a smile. "Boo-hoo. Miss is too evil." Fengda and the others immediately sat on the ground and wailed without caring about their image when they heard Lung Ruoxue's words. Lung Qingtian, who was sent back into the bracelet by Lung Ruoxue, saw Fengda and the other men crying miserably. They were a little unable to do it, and Fengde and the others escaped disaster because of this. Fengde and the others finally heaved a sigh of relief when they saw that Long Qingtian no longer pursued the matter of whether they knew the truth or not. Phew. It was still the crying meat trap that worked. Miss was really smart. Schwer, are Fengde and the others okay? The freak couldn't help asking. His grandfather said he wanted to teach them a lesson, but he couldn't help being a little curious seeing Schwer snickering. It's okay. Grandpa's heart softened when he saw them crying. Hee. Actually, Grandpa wouldn't really teach them a lesson. He just said it happily. Lung Ruoxue said in realization. Cry? That's a good idea. The freak nodded in agreement. Haha, yes. Freak, let's go back. I just asked Fengde and the others to prepare the silver snow fish banquet. Lung Ruoxue said and ordered Ling to remove the invisibility spell on them. After all, they came out of the inn openly. Okay. The freak nodded and sat on the little peacock's back with Schwer, returning to the moon-gazing restaurant. The shopkeeper welcomed them anxiously as soon as they returned to the moon-gazing restaurant. Miss Long, you're finally back. Alas. The shopkeeper sighed and looked at Long Ruoxue awkwardly. Shopkeeper, what's the matter? Long Ruoxue asked in puzzlement. Looking at the shopkeeper, could it be that there was something difficult to say? Miss Long, I'm really sorry. The Guanyu family has decided to ask you to leave the moon-gazing restaurant immediately after a discussion, the shopkeeper said with a troubled expression. Alas. He was really helpless about the family's decision. However, he was only a shopkeeper. He had no choice but to obey the family's orders. Moreover, he might be transferred out of this place soon. Leave the moon-gazing house? Shopkeeper, you have to give an explanation for kicking the guests out, right? Lung Ruoxue said coldly, the cold light in her beautiful eyes flashing for a moment. The moon-gazing family? Good, very good. They had to pay the price since they dared to provoke her. Miss Long, I'm very sorry. This is the family's decision. I'm helpless too, the shopkeeper said gloomily. Alas. He really didn't know what agreement the Wu family and the family had reached. The elders in the family were actually willing to stand up for the Wu family. Shopkeeper, I know this has nothing to do with you. I just want an explanation. We lived here and didn't know the inn a single cent. What right do you have to chase us out? Lung Ruoxue said with a somewhat unfriendly tone. Last time, Lan Ninger rejected them outside Blue Cloud City. She didn't expect them to be chased out of the inn by the Guanyu family again this time. Why were they so unlucky? Trouble would always find them. The family wanted to give the Wu family an explanation. Wu Qin'er was seriously injured, so the family had no choice but to make this decision. The shopkeeper said after some thought. Alas. He didn't want to become enemies with Long Ruoxue and the others because of this matter, so he pushed the blame onto the Wu family. Shopkeeper, do you think I'm a 3-year-old child? The Wu family's strength is far inferior to the Guanyu family's. You said it yourself. I didn't expect the Guanyu family to actually have to give an explanation to the Wu family. It's really too unbelievable. Lung Ruoxue's beautiful face was full of mockery. It was most likely that the Guanyu family had some shameful deal with the Wu family. Otherwise, it wouldn't be like this. The Wu family and the Guanyu family are old friends, so we have to give them an explanation, the shopkeeper said awkwardly. What about my explanation? This originally had nothing to do with the Guanyu family, but the Guanyu family insisted on getting involved. Go back and tell your patriarch not to regret it. Lung Ruoxue dragged the freak directly upstairs after leaving some warning words. After returning to her room, Lung Ruoxue moved her brother and the others out of the bracelet. Schwer, what should we do now? Lung Ruhan asked worriedly. Alas. He was really afraid that Schwer would be angry because of such a small matter. The Wu family and the Guanyu family were really too despicable. They actually dared to bully his precious sister. What can we do? We left the inn, of course, Lung Ruoxue said with a light smile, her beautiful face unreadable. Miss, are we leaving just like that? Aren't we too cowardly? Fengde said in disbelief. When did Miss become so easygoing? We've already been kicked out. If we don't leave now, we might be chased out later, Lung Ruoxue said helplessly. In that case, let's leave quickly. Otherwise, it will be too embarrassing if we are really chased out, Empty said with a light smile, his incomparably handsome face without any worry. Chapter 596. Being Kicked Out. 4. Yes, you have to be alert after leaving this place. I'm afraid the Wu family will deal with you, Long Ruoxue reminded. It would probably not be easy for the Wu family to deal with her and the freak because their strengths could not be measured by levels now. However, Fengde and the others were a little weak. They would not have the strength to fight against true powerhouses even if they had dragons as helpers, so the Wu family might very well target them. Miss, don't worry. We know our limits, Fengde said hurriedly. Okay, let's go then. Long Ruoxue said to everyone and moved the icy out of the bracelet to hug it. When Long Ruoxue and the others walked to the hall on the first floor, the shopkeeper walked to them with an apologetic face. His lips moved as if he wanted to say something. However, Long Ruoxue and the others didn't give him any chance to walk past him and out of the inn. At the entrance of the moon-gazing restaurant, Long Ruoxue gently caressed Icy's soft fur and said lightly, Icy, are you having a cold again? Hee, little Snowy, how did you know? Icy opened its ice-blue beautiful eyes and pretended to be surprised. Moreover, it sneezed several times in order to match Long Ruoxue's words to prove that it really had a cold. Humph. Bullying little Snowy was bullying it. Such a person definitely couldn't be let go. Poor little Icy. Long Ruoxue caressed Icy's head, her beautiful face full of heartache. Little Icy, you're so pitiful. How did you catch a cold? Long Ruhan, who didn't understand, said sympathetically. Fengde and the others also showed their concern at the right time and surrounded Icy to show their concern because they were still unclear about the power of little Icy's sneeze. Nor were they aware that little Icy had a selective cold. Zheng In, who knew the truth, was at a loss for words. He was full of sympathy for the Guanyu family. Alas, poor Guanyu family. Why did you have to help the Wu family bully Miss out of all the people you could provoke? Great. You've caused trouble for yourself now. Alas. He now knew why Miss was willing to leave the inn happily. She was waiting here. He knew it. How could Miss not teach the Guanyu family a lesson? Miss, let's leave quickly. Zheng In couldn't help reminding. He didn't know when little Icy sneeze would be effective, but it was best to wait for it to be effective after they left. This was the most perfect. Okay. Long Ruoxue nodded, and everyone left the moon-gazing restaurant. A few minutes after Long Ruoxue and the others left the moon-gazing restaurant, the moon-gazing restaurant collapsed as Zheng In had imagined. At first, a crack appeared in the building, and then the moon-gazing restaurant shook violently. A few seconds later, it completely collapsed. Damn it, what happened? A guest who escaped death from moon-gazing restaurant couldn't help shouting. He couldn't help breaking out in cold sweat as he looked at the collapsed moon-gazing restaurant. Damn, it was too terrifying. He was almost injured. Fortunately, his reaction speed was fast enough. However, not all guests had such good luck. Many guests were injured when they ran out of the inn even though they escaped in time. That's right, shopkeeper. You have to give us an explanation. Your moon-gazing restaurant is the best inn in moon-gazing city. Why is the quality so poor? Another person questioned with a displeased face. He was also a lucky person who was not injured, but his partner was injured. Don't worry, we will give everyone an explanation, the shopkeeper comforted. He immediately sent people to report after checking the injured. Alas. In fact, he didn't know what was going on either. However, luckily, everyone's injuries were not serious. This was really the greatest blessing of misfortune. That's good. The two questioned were relieved and then returned to their companions. In the main mansion of the Guanyu family, in the hall, the waiter who came to report turned pale and looked at the patriarch sitting on the main seat with a trembling body. His little heart was thumping in fear, and his legs were a little weak. Boo-hoo. He had already reported everything that happened. Patriarch and the elders give a reaction. Do you mean the moon-gazing house collapsed? An elder of the moon-gazing family asked in disbelief after a long silence. They were all a little dumbfounded after hearing this news just now. Didn't they just react? Yes, the waiter whispered with cold sweat all over his body. Boo-hoo. Why are the patriarch and elders still so distracted after such a big thing happened? Did I say all that just now for nothing? He couldn't help complaining in his heart. Nonsense. How can the moon-gazing restaurant collapse? The quality of the moon-gazing restaurant is also one of the best in the boundless heaven continent. The elder couldn't help roaring. He didn't believe the waiter's words at all because in his heart, it was impossible for the moon-gazing restaurant to collapse because of the quality problem. Fifth elder, it really collapsed. All the guests in the shop are sleeping on the streets now. Many people are injured, but luckily, no one died, the waiter said carefully. First elder, send someone to take a look. You have to deal with them appropriately and calm them down. The flower appreciation meeting is about to begin. Don't let them have any dissatisfaction. The patriarch, who hadn't said a word, suddenly ordered. Yes, patriarch. Don't worry. I'll handle this matter myself. First elder stood up and promised. Then he turned and left the hall. At this moment, Long Ruashue and the others were already on another street adjacent to the moon-gazing restaurant. Long Ruashue caressed Icy's soft and satin-like fur and murmured, "It should be about time, right?" Hee. Icy smiled proudly. The human and beast's eyes collided, producing sparks of understanding, but it smiled without saying anything. Miss, we've been kicked out of the house, and the inns in moon-gazing city are full. Should we find a place to camp? Fengde couldn't help asking. Alas, he realized that Miss was actually so easygoing after coming out from seclusion for a period of time. She really left if she wanted to. She had to ask for compensation no matter what. Thinking of this, he felt a little depressed since he didn't know the truth. Chapter 597. Collapse. Staying in the Alchemist Association. 1. Why camping? Let's go to the Alchemist Association and see if Zheng Yin's announcement has been issued. Lung Ruashue said with a light smile. In fact, she didn't intend to go to the Alchemist Association at all if this hadn't happened. However, she had no choice but to go now. After all, the inn in moon-gazing city was full, and there were so many of them. They needed a temporary residence no matter what. Okay. Fengde and the others nodded. Then they walked in the direction of the Alchemist Association according to the markings on the map. After walking another 2 streets, Lung Ruashue and the others arrived at the entrance of the Alchemist Association. The Alchemist Association of Moon-Gazing City might not be comparable to the headquarters of Carefree City, but just by looking at its tall and imposing appearance, it shouldn't be much worse inside. After all, alchemists were very rich. Go in, Lung Ruashue said to everyone. Then she was the first to push open the door of the Alchemist Association and enter, the others following closely behind her. Hello everyone. Do you need to buy pills, or do you want to participate in the test? The staff on the first floor of the Alchemist Association hurriedly walked forward and asked after seeing Lung Ruashue and the others. We want to see the president. Lung Ruashue took out a token and showed it to the staff. Please wait a moment. The staff couldn't help widening his eyes in disbelief after seeing the token Lung Ruashue took out. He hurriedly said without delay and turned to go upstairs to inform the president. Miss, what brand is this? It's so useful. Fengde looked at the token in Lung Ruaxue's hand and couldn't help asking with shining eyes. I don't know, Lung Ruashue said calmly. Well, she really didn't know. Renly gave this token to her, saying that it might be useful in the future. She thought about it and found it reasonable, so she kept it. That badge is the identification of the president of the headquarters, the little old man said faintly. Renly might not be the president of the headquarters anymore, but he had given the badge representing the president's identity to the girl. Well, he had good taste. Moreover, the Alchemist Association had always recognized cards, but not people. Hee. What? Lung Ruashue was stunned, and then anger surged in her heart. Damn Renly. How dare he plot against her? Lass. At this point, You should resign yourself to fate, The little old man said happily. Accept your fate? How is that possible? Isn't Runli causing trouble for me? Lung Ruoxue said angrily. What do you mean? The little old man asked in puzzlement. Oomph. If those elders knew that this hot token was in my hands, no matter who among them became the president, they would not live up to their reputation. Wouldn't they come and find trouble with me? Long Ruoxue said furiously. If she had known that this lousy token was so troublesome, she wouldn't have wanted it at all back then. Lass, if this badge was in the hands of others, the new president would also be allowed to cause trouble, but they wouldn't dare to do so in your hands, the little old man teased with a smile. Those elders were like mice seeing a cat when they saw Schwer. They couldn't even hide in time. So how could they dare to come knocking on their door to cause trouble? They knew what happened to Sunway. Are you Miss Long? Ningda, the president of the Moon-Gazing City's Alchemist Association. A short, fat middle-aged man strode down the stairs while the two were chatting. He hurriedly walked to them with a smile on his face when he saw the people standing in the hall. I am. Do you know me? Lung Ruoxue asked curiously. She was sure that she had never seen this president, but how did he know her? Yes, hello, Your Excellency Du Min. Ningda nodded and then bowed very politely to Du Min. Du Min was a legendary figure in the alchemist world and the god in the hearts of all alchemists, so he was very excited to see Du Min in person. Okay. The little old man nodded slightly as a form of greeting. How do you know me? Lung Ruoxue looked at Ningda and asked in puzzlement. Everyone, follow me upstairs first. It's not too suitable to stand in the hall and chat. Ningda suppressed the excitement in his heart and pretended to be calm. Okay. Lung Ruoxue nodded. She really wanted to know how this president knew her. For some reason, she had a bad feeling. This way, please, Ningda said respectfully. Everyone nodded and then followed Ningda to the second floor. Everyone, this is my office. Come in and have a seat. Ningda said very warmly. His idol had arrived at his guild, and he was extraordinarily excited. Lung Ruoxue and the others found a random seat and sat down after entering Ningda's office. President Ning, can you tell me now? Lung Ruoxue asked after sitting down. Miss Long, it's like this. We received an announcement from the headquarters a few days ago. The announcement said that you have the badge of the headquarters president in your hand, and we have to treat you with the same respect as the president and not slight you. Ningda explained with a smile. Can I take a look at the announcement? Lung Ruoxue asked, not knowing what the old fellows from the Alchemist Association said. Okay. Ningda took out the announcement from the headquarters and handed it to Lung Ruoxue. After Lung Ruoxue took the announcement, she opened it and took a few glances before feeling a little depressed. In addition to explaining Zheng En's matter, this announcement also said something about her, especially the last sentence to remind everyone from the various guilds to not provoke her. Lass, let me see. The little old man looked at the expression on Lung Ruoxue's face doubtfully. Lass' reaction was so strange. Okay. Lung Ruoxue handed the notice to the little old man gloomily. She couldn't help thinking, am I really that scary? The little old man took the notice and looked at it carefully. After reading it, he sighed with emotion and said, these elders are quite sensible. 2 drops of cold sweat dripped down Ningda's forehead. He really didn't know how to answer His Excellency Du Min. Ningda, hasn't the headquarters chosen a president yet? The little old man asked to confirm. Chapter 598. Collapse. Staying in the Alchemist Association. 2. No. The headquarters is now jointly managed by several elders until the future president has the time to manage it. Ningda looked at Lung Ruoxue cautiously. In fact, he knew a lot about these things, but he didn't dare to say anything in front of a certain someone. Haha, I'm afraid your future president won't be free. Tell those elders to keep them in check. The little old man said with a loud laugh. It seemed like those old things had different opinions and were unwilling to let the other party be the president. Coincidentally, the token representing the president was in the girl's hand, so they stopped. After all, He had a deep understanding of their fear of Schwer. Ningda was a little speechless. How could he not agree? President Ning, we were chased out of the moon-gazing house. Arrange a place for us to stay. Lung Ruoxue was so depressed that she didn't want to talk about this matter anymore. She directly changed the topic and said to Ningda, Huh. Ningda was stunned. Did he hear it right? The Guanyu family had always respected alchemists. How could they chase them out? Could it be that their brains were damaged? One had to know that just His Excellency Du Min alone could not be hired with money. Moreover, there was also their Alchemist Association's future president. Are you surprised? Lung Ruoxue looked at Ning Des' expression and asked teasingly. It's a little unbelievable, Ningda said honestly. It seemed like the Guanyu family's head was indeed damaged. Didn't they know that they could offend anyone but alchemists? President Ning, help us arrange a place to stay first. As for what happened, let my subordinates tell you. Lung Ruoxue said with a naughty smile. Hee, this was also a test for Ningda. Okay, please wait a moment, Ningda said quickly and stood up to leave the room. Ningda returned a moment later. Miss Long, Your Excellency Du Min, the rooms have been arranged. Please follow me. Ningda led the way and led Lung Ruoxue and the others to a yard in the backyard. Miss Long, this is the place, Ningda said after bringing Lung Ruoxue and the others into the yard. President Ning, thank you. I'm very satisfied with the house, Lung Ruoxue said very politely as she looked at the spacious and clean yard. The yard was not big, but the environment was not bad. There were flowers, grass, and green trees. It was small but complete. Miss Long, there are only 5 rooms here, and they can't accommodate so many of you. So I arranged for the others to stay in another yard, President Ning explained. There's no need. They can squeeze in, Lung Ruoxue said lightly. Our guild has a lot of empty rooms, so... Ningda wanted to say that there was no need to squeeze, but he was interrupted by Lung Ruoxue before he could say anything. President Ning, we offended the Wu family. If they are too far away from me, I'm afraid the Wu family will find them, so it's safer to squeeze in, Lung Ruoxue explained. Oh. Ningda nodded, but he couldn't help muttering in his heart why it was related to the Wu family again. Fengda, tell President Ning what happened so that he won't worry. They'll rest first, Lung Ruoxue ordered. Then she pulled the freak into a random room. Miss Long. Ningda couldn't help shouting. Why were they going to rest now? It wasn't dark yet. President Ning, come. Sit down and listen to me tell you slowly. Fengda brought Ningda to a stone bench and sat down. Then he began to embellish the treatment they received after coming to Moon-Gazing City. About an hour later, Fengda finally finished speaking. After hearing Fengda's words, Ningda slammed his hand on the table and stood up angrily, shouting indignantly, Humph! The Wu family is too much. The Guanyu family is too unprincipled. How can they collude with the Wu family? President Ning, you really have a sense of justice. If everyone in the Boundless Heaven continent could be like you, then there wouldn't be any cases of wrongdoing. In fact, Miss Wu's serious injuries have nothing to do with us at all. Our commander Yi only kicked her. How much can she be injured by a kick? Don't you think so? Fengda first patted Ning Des' flattery and then asked. Yes, that's right. Humph. Previously, the Wu family came to purchase pills. Fortunately, the association didn't have them, and it required time to concoct them. Moreover, they lacked a very precious main ingredient. Otherwise, wouldn't the Wu family benefit? Ningda said angrily, but then he sighed in relief. Luckily, there was no such pill. Otherwise, if he saved Miss Long's enemy, wouldn't he be going against Miss Long? Thinking of this, he couldn't help but break out in cold sweat. He had heard of Lung Ruoxue's vengeful nature. Otherwise, the high and mighty elders of the headquarters would not be so careful. They would also not order them to serve her carefully. Yes, President Ning, you are a righteous person. You can't help a tyrant. Fengda reminded very kindly. Who asked the Wu family and the Guanyu family to gang up and bully them. Miss Wu would have to suffer for a few more days without healing pills. Yes, everyone, don't worry. I know what to do. Ningda looked at everyone in the yard and promised. He stood up and left after speaking. Captain, you're so naughty. Lin Yuan said with a light smile. How am I bad? Feng De glared and said fiercely. Boo-hoo. Who was he doing this for? He actually said he was bad. He was really asking for a beating. Stop arguing. Hurry up and set up the tent. Do you want to sleep outside at night? Zheng Yin reminded them. His tent was already set up. He might not sleep inside at night, but he had to pretend. Okay, Feng De and the others answered and hurriedly started fighting. There was strength in numbers. After more than 10 minutes, the yard was full of tents, leaving only a small road for people to walk from the room to the door. In the room, Lung Ruoxue and the freak sat in the chairs. After hearing what Feng De said to Ningde just now, and seeing them neatly set up the tent, they couldn't help nodding with satisfaction. Chapter 599, Collapse. Staying in the Alchemist Association, 3. Schwer. Why is that young lady of the Wu family seriously injured? The freak asked in puzzlement. He knew very well how much strength his kick had. Wu Qin'er would definitely be injured, but it shouldn't be so serious. I don't know. Could it be that that woman has other enemies? Lung Ruoxue guessed. Yes, it's possible. If I knew who framed me and made me take the blame for him, I definitely wouldn't let him go, the freak said through gritted teeth. He didn't care about Wu Qin'er's life or death, but he was a little regretful now. He was too careless back then, to the point that he was taking the blame for others now. Boo-hoo. If he had known that this would happen, he might as well have been more ruthless back then. That would also live up to its name. Haha, freak, you're very depressed now, right? Lung Ruoxue said in realization. Yes, it's quite depressing, the freak said honestly. Boo-hoo. He was framed. Hee-hee. What's there to be depressed about? In fact, no matter how heavy your kick was, the Wu family won't let us go, Lung Ruoxue said understandingly. Even if the freak didn't kick Wu Qin'er out of the inn, Wu Qin'er would still find trouble with them. This was unavoidable. Schwer, I'm depressed because I was framed. You have to console me. The freak's bright black eyes looked at Lung Ruoxue longingly, his starry eyes full of anticipation. Okay, call them in. Let's go eat the silver snow fish dinner, Lung Ruoxue said with a light smile. That's it? The freak looked at Lung Ruoxue with great dissatisfaction. What else? Lung Ruoxue looked at the freak innocently. At least a kiss. The freak pouted, his handsome face full of anticipation. Don't play the limiting role in front of me. I'm a pure and innocent child. At this moment, Icy, which had been lying in Lung Ruoxue's arms, opened its ice-blue beautiful eyes helplessly, reminding them of its existence. Boo-hoo. Don't ignore it. Sleep with you. The freak glared at Icy and said irritably. Boo-hoo. How could he have forgotten about this little light bulb? Haha. Freak. Quickly go and call them. Lung Ruoxue looked at the freak who was a little angry from embarrassment and said with a happy smile. Okay. The freak answered reluctantly and left the room. Little Snowy, you will spoil me. Icy looked at Lung Ruoxue aggrievedly after the freak left. Of course not. It's bad enough that you don't need us to teach you. Lung Ruoxue raised Icy in front of her and teased. Little Snowy, how can you wrong me? Icy protested. Tears welled up in its beautiful ice-blue eyes and rolled around. Damn, Icy. You're pretending to be pitiful in front of Schwerer again. The freak who returned after calling everyone saw Icy's pitiful appearance and exposed it rudely. Boo-hoo. Why did everyone or beasts around Schwerer learn this move now? How am I? Icy glared at the freak and roared with displeasure. All right, stop arguing. Let's go eat the silver snowfish. Lung Ruoxue sighed helplessly. Then with a thought, everyone was brought into the bracelet by her. Schwer, Lung Qingtian, who had been circling around uneasily in the space, hurriedly came forward when he saw his precious granddaughter. Grandpa, we're in the Alchemist Association. Lung Ruoxue hurriedly explained when she saw her grandfather. I know. Schwer, what happened? Lung Qingtian asked in puzzlement. He had just come out of seclusion. He knew that his granddaughter and the others had been chased out of the inn, but he was not very clear about the origin of the matter. Grandpa, don't worry. The Wu family isn't our match. Lung Ruoxue calmly told her grandfather what happened. I see. Lung Qingtian didn't know whether to laugh or cry after hearing what his granddaughter said. Alas, he didn't expect the cause of the matter to be a snack. This was too unbelievable. Grandpa, let's go and eat the silver snowfish. Lung Ruoxue held her grandfather's arm coquettishly. To her, all this was nothing. Moreover, she would let the Guanyu family and the Wu family know that provoking her would result in consequences. Okay, Lung Qingtian nodded. He was never worried about his granddaughter's strength. Instead, he felt some pity for the two families who provoked his precious granddaughter. Alas, tell me, why did you have to provoke his granddaughter? Lung Ruoxue and the others were in an incomparably good mood as they ate the delicious silver snow fish in the space. However, some people in Moon-Gazing City were not as happy as them. In the main mansion of the Guanyu family, the Wu family was temporarily staying in the guest room of Fallen Plum Garden. Patriarch, Miss fainted from the pain again. In Wu Chenner's room, the maidservant said worriedly to a fierce-looking middle-aged man. Guards! The middle-aged man roared as his two subordinates, who had been waiting outside the door, pushed the door open and walked in. Patriarch, what instructions do you have? The two subordinates asked respectfully. Is second butler back yet? The Wu family's patriarch, who had a fierce look on his face, asked furiously. He had sent second butler to buy snake ting flour, but he hadn't returned for several hours. It was really infuriating. Reporting to patriarch, second butler hasn't returned yet. However, I heard that there are no soaring snakes in all the shops in Moon-Gazing City, so I guess second butler went to the neighboring town to purchase them, a subordinate said. Oh, inform me immediately when the second butler returns. By the way, did anything happen in the inn? The Wu family's patriarch asked again. Chinner was his most outstanding daughter, but now, his precious daughter was lying on the bed like a cripple. How could he take this lying down? He would definitely not let those people go. As far as I know, shopkeeper Ming has already chased them out of the inn, another subordinate said. He had just learned this news, but he didn't know if he should tell the patriarch about the collapse of the moon-gazing restaurant. Okay, get someone to keep an eye on them. Oh right, send this to the sixth elder, and tell him that I'm very satisfied with his performance. The Wu family's patriarch took out a silver card from his ring and handed it to one of his subordinates. Chapter 600. Where do you want to take me? 1. Yes. A subordinate immediately left the room after receiving the silver card. Get second butler to bring the snake soaring flower to the Alchemist Association immediately when he returns. The Wu family's patriarch ordered another subordinate. Yes, the other subordinate answered, bowed, and left the room. After his subordinates left the room, the Wu family's patriarch looked at his unconscious daughter lying on the bed, and the anger in his heart gradually rose. He would definitely not let those people go. According to his investigation, Long Ruoxue and the man named Freak were the top two in the Mystic Association competition not long ago. However, a mere elementary mystic actually dared to go against their Wu family. He really didn't know how the word death was written. Chinner was his most outstanding daughter. He still hoped that this daughter could become the young madam of the Guanyu family. However, looking at Chinner's current state, how could she still participate in the Flower Appreciation Festival? No, he had to treat his daughter's injuries before the Flower Appreciation Festival. If Chinner could obtain first place in the Flower Appreciation Festival, let's see what that old thing Guanyuelong had to say. At this moment, someone was also depressed in an inconspicuous room in Fragrance Village. Luo Fei sat in a corner and looked at his good friend who was thinking to himself. He couldn't help but sigh with emotion in his heart. She was just a woman he had only met once. Did she have to look so dead? In fact, he had never seen Long Ruoxue, so he naturally didn't find a woman rare. You don't understand. I harmed her. Guan Yueshi looked at his friend's expression and said self-reproachfully. Boo-hoo. He got the shopkeeper to specially leave those snacks for Long Ruoxue, but he didn't expect them to be in trouble. Thinking of this, he was really depressed. What does this have to do with you? Wu Qin'er is obviously finding trouble for no reason, Luo Fei said, unable to bear watching. That's also related to me. Guan Yueshi was still blaming herself. Okay, even if it has something to do with you, they have been chased out of the moon-gazing restaurant. What do you intend to do? Luo Fei asked very curiously. I've already sent people to look for them. I have a yard in the outskirts of the city and intend to let them stay there for the time being. Guan Yueshi told her friend her plan. I just don't know if they will appreciate it. I think they probably hate your Guan Yu family to death now, Luo Fei said understandingly. He would also hate the owner of the inn to death if he was chased out. Alas, this was all ordered by the sixth elder. I only found out later, Guan Yueshi said helplessly. Long Ruoxue and the others had already left the inn by the time he knew about this. After that, he hurriedly arranged for people to find their whereabouts, not knowing if they could be found. Sixth Elder is quite bold. He actually dares to chase guests out of the shop. Doesn't he know that this will have a bad effect on your Guan Yu family? Luo Fei said in puzzlement. I heard that it was because Wu Qin'er was injured in the inn that the elders ordered the sixth elder to deal with this matter, so he gave such an order. Guan Yu, she told his friends simply what he knew. But isn't it inappropriate to chase the guests out? Luo Fei couldn't help asking. Yes, but this matter involves the Wu family, so even if the sixth elder has any objections, he can only turn a blind eye to it, Guan Yueshi explained. He knew the thoughts of those old foxes in the family very well. Didn't they think that Wu Qin'er had a very high chance of becoming the young madam of the Guan Yu family? Therefore, they tacitly approved of the sixth elder's behavior. Alas, I really pity you. Luo Fei's clear eyes were full of pity. Alas, young masters of noble families like them had times when they were helpless. In fact, he really didn't want to be a young master if possible. He yearned for a free and adventurous life. Master! A cold voice sounded from outside the door while the two of them were chatting. Zero, come in. Guan Yu, she said softly. A man in black who was tightly wrapped from head to toe pushed the door open and entered after Guan Yueshi spoke. Zero, did you find them? Guan Yueshi asked anxiously. Alas, she didn't know if those people would accept his good intentions. Found it, Zero replied quickly. Have you arranged everything? Guan Yueshi asked hurriedly. Master, I didn't have the chance to approach them. They lived in the Alchemist Association, Zero explained. Alchemist Association? Oh, it's been tough on you. Zero, go and rest first. Guan Yueshi was stunned, and then said to Zero, Yes, I have another matter to report. The moon observatory collapsed. Zero left the room after speaking. This news exploded like a bomb, stunning the two men in the room. Fei, what did Zero say just now? Guan Yu, she asked foolishly after a while. He just said that the moon-gazing tower collapsed, Luo Fei said uncertainly. How is this possible? Guan Yu, she said in disbelief. Zero probably won't lie to us, Luo Fei said honestly. I know. Guan Yu, she was depressed again. Alas, Long Ruoxue and the others actually stayed in the Alchemist Association, and the moon-gazing restaurant collapsed. How? How could this be? That woman named Long Ruoxue is quite capable. She can actually stay in the Alchemist Association. Could she be an alchemist? Luo Fei guessed. One had to know that not just anyone could stay in the Alchemist Association. I don't know either. We'll go home and see the situation first. Guan Yu, she stood up. He didn't have to worry about them since Long Ruoxue and the others already had a place to stay. We'll go back with you. Luo Fei said and stood up. Okay. Guan Yu, she nodded, and then the two of them left the room. In the Alchemist Association, in the president's office, Ningda looked at the second butler of the Wu family standing respectfully in front of him without a word, thinking about how to send this person away. Since he already knew the grudge between Miss Long and the Wu family, he didn't dare to let anyone refine the snake corral pill for their Wu family without Long Ruoxue's permission. Chapter 601. Where do you want to take me? 2. Second butler. To be honest, the alchemists who can refine the snake corral pill are not here now. So I'm afraid you've come for nothing. Ningda smiled amiably, his shrewd eyes full of apology. President Ning, how can this be? Weren't the masters from a few hours ago still around? The second butler thought that he had heard it wrong and said in disbelief. The snake corral pill might only be an earth-grade pill, but the difficulty of refining it was not inferior to a heaven-grade pill at all. Therefore, only alchemists above the alchemist grandmaster level had the chance to successfully refine it. The alchemists from the Alchemist Association of Guanyu City were obviously still around not long ago, but why were they all gone in such a short time? This was really too unbelievable. Second butler, you also said that a few hours ago. It's been a long time. They can't be waiting for you here forever. Who knows if you can find the snake totem flower today? Moreover, you don't understand the characteristics of the snake accumulation pill. Don't look at how many alchemist grandmasters our association has. They don't have much confidence in refining the snake accumulation pill. If you want the success rate to be high, it's best if you can find an alchemist supremacy, so that you don't waste the snake accumulation flower you worked so hard to find. Ningda reminded very understandingly. President Ning, where did those grandmasters go? The second butler asked stubbornly. Didn't he know that the success rate of finding an alchemy supremacy to refine would be higher? However, alchemy supremacies were not cabbages that could be found easily. Moreover, even if he found them, the alchemy supremacy might not refine an earth-grade pill for you. At that time, he would probably have to find an alchemy grandmaster to refine it. More importantly, their young miss couldn't wait. They went to the headquarters, Ningda said after some thought. He didn't believe that the Wu family would dare to go to the headquarters to find someone. Moreover, the headquarters was far away. Wu Qin'er would probably be in pain by the time they found someone and returned. The headquarters? Why did they go to the headquarters? The second butler couldn't help but roar. Damn! The headquarters would take at least half a month to reach Guanyu City, and it would take more than a month to travel back and forth. If he went to the headquarters to find someone, the old master would skin him alive. They naturally have something important to do at the headquarters. Ningda's tone suddenly became a little cold. What important matter is more important than our young miss matter? The second butler was very anxious and accidentally said the words in his heart. Second butler, who do you think your young miss is? Even the three major families probably don't dare to say anything about the Alchemist Association. It's not as important as a particular person in their family. Ningda snorted coldly and rebuked very unpleasantly. This Wu family actually didn't even take the Alchemist Association seriously. How ridiculous. Seems like he had to report second butler's words to the headquarters. In the boundless heaven continent, no one dared to offend alchemists, even though the status of mystics was very noble. This was because even mystics would be injured, and injuries required pills. If you offended a certain alchemist with status, then prepare for your funeral early. That was why the major families on the continent would be very polite to alchemists. I'm sorry, President Ning. I misspoke. That's not what I meant. Please don't stoop to my level. Cold sweat instantly emerged from the second butler's back when he heard Ning De's words, and his little heart was trembling nonstop from fright. Boo-hoo. How could he have forgotten that there was a popular saying on the boundless heaven continent that said that he would rather offend the king of hell than the alchemist? Boo-hoo. Those words just now were really just his heartfelt words. Why did he say them out loud? Oh no, he was dead meat this time. If the patriarch knew that he had offended the alchemist, he would definitely not let him go. I want bicker with a dog, but I can't guarantee about the other alchemists, Ningda said coldly, hating the Wu family in his heart. He hadn't felt that the Wu family was so annoying before. But now, the Wu family was like a nauseating fly in his heart, wanting to destroy them whenever he saw them. President Ning, I'm a dog. You can hit or scold me, but don't be angry with me. The second butler pleaded with a long face. Boo-hoo. If he couldn't coax Ningda, then he wouldn't have a way out. He knew very well how ruthless the patriarch was. I won't be angry with a dog. You can go, Ningda said lightly. Then he stood up and left the office without looking at the second butler. After Ningda left the office, he went straight to the yard he had prepared for Long Ruashue and the others. He saw tents full of them through the fence as he walked to the door. 2 black lines rolled down his forehead. It seemed like they really planned to camp in the yard. Ningda knocked on the door and waited respectfully. "President Ning, why are you here?" Fengda walked out of the room, opened the door, and asked Ningda curiously. I wanted to ask you what you want to eat for dinner." Ningda walked into the yard and said, "Haha, President Ning, you don't have to worry. We've already eaten," Fengda said with a smile. Then he pulled Ningda to a stone bench in the yard and sat down. "Have they eaten? Why so quickly?" Ningda couldn't help but ask curiously. He couldn't help thinking in his heart, could they have gone out to eat? However, he hadn't heard anyone from the guild say that they had gone out before. "Hee, we eat food prepared by ourselves. We are used to eating what we prepare when we are out training," Fengda explained. "Oh, why don't we see Miss Lung and the others?" Ningda couldn't help asking when he saw only Fengda coming out. "Miss and the others are all asleep, except for me. By the way, Miss asked me to give this to you." Fengda handed Ningda a white porcelain bottle. "This is—" Ningda took the porcelain bottle and asked doubtfully. However, when he opened the stopper, the medicinal fragrance in the bottle seeped out. He couldn't help but widen his eyes, so excited that he was speechless. "Snow Spirit Pill," Ningda said excitedly after a while. "Boo-hoo. It really was the Snow Spirit Pill, the legendary heaven-grade Snow Spirit Pill. President Ning, it's just a pill. Do you have to be so excited?" Fengda teased softly. Chapter 602. Where do you want to take me? 3. You don't understand. You don't understand. The Snow Spirit Pill is a legendary heaven-grade pill. The main ingredient is very precious, and it has to be a 1,000-year-old snow lotus. However, there are no 1,000-year-old snow lotuses in the world anymore, so I've never had the chance to obtain it. Ningda's excitement was overflowing. Boo-hoo. When he concocted the pill a few years ago, he suffered a very serious injury from the backlash. Unless he could find a 1,000-year-old snow lotus or a snow spirit pill, he would never have the chance to become an alchemist. Alas, if not for his injuries, he would probably still be receiving guidance from the president at the Alchemist Association now. How could he be the president? A guild like the Alchemist Association was very different from the Mystic Association. In the Mystic Association, the president was a symbol of the rights and status of a mystic. However, in the Alchemist Association, the president was equivalent to a handyman. The ones with true status in the Alchemist Association were alchemists who only wanted to refine the best pills, and the president was only serving them. Of course, he was referring to the various alchemist branches. The situation in the headquarters was naturally different. Why don't I understand? This snow spirit pill can enhance ice and water attribute spiritual energy, right? Our Miss Beasts often eat it, Fengda said nonchalantly. Beasts eat it often? Ningda widened his eyes and asked doubtfully. Fengda was right. The snow spirit pill could not only heal fire attribute cultivators from the backlash, but it could also increase spiritual energy for ice and water attribute mystic cultivators. However, the snow spirit pill was really too precious, and no one was willing to use it to increase their spiritual energy. Yes, beasts like Charm and the others eat it as snacks, Fengda said honestly, not thinking that his words would have any effect on Ningda at all. In fact, they had eaten a lot of Miss pills that could increase spiritual energy. Does Miss Lung still need beasts? Ningda asked dumbfoundedly. Boo-hoo. He wanted to be Long Ruaksha's beast after hearing Fengda's words. What? Do you want to be a beast for my young miss too? Hee. Our commander Yi will be jealous if my young miss doesn't accept humanoid beast drops. Fengda teased with a smile. No, I'm just a little envious of the treatment those beasts receive, Ningda said awkwardly. Boo-hoo. He might have that idea, but he was not a beast after all. Why would Miss Lung accept him? In fact, being Miss Subordinate isn't an ordinary good treatment. We've also eaten a lot of mist pills like the snow spirit pill you mentioned. Fengde said with a face full of pride. The expression on his face was very smug. Really? Ningde said with a face full of surprise, envious of Fengde and the others in his heart. Of course it's true. By the way, quickly go back and take the snow spirit pill. I want to sleep too, Fengde urged. Boo-hoo. He still wanted to go back and eat the silver snowfish. Miss said that she would keep it for him, but he really didn't trust those gluttons Lin Yuan. You're sleeping so early, Ningde said in disbelief. Yes, Miss said that it's good to sleep early and wake up early. The consequences will be very serious if we fall behind. Fengde said pitifully. Boo-hoo. Miss Few's special training sessions were really too terrifying. He didn't want to experience it again. This was also one of the main reasons why they were cultivating so hard now. Let me ask you, Miss gave them such good conditions? How could they face Miss if they didn't cultivate properly? Oh, then go rest. I'll take my leave. Ningde stood up with the porcelain bottle in his hand. He turned around and left the yard anxiously. Miss Lung Ruoxue, who had been paying attention to the situation outside, brought Fengde into the bracelet with a thought as soon as he returned to his room. Ah, my silver snow fish. Fengde shouted after returning to the space and joined the group that was snatching food. Lass, I didn't expect you to actually have a snow spirit pill. Alas, we can't find snow lotuses more than 1,000 years old now, the little old man said with emotion. He was actually a little jealous of Lung Ruoxue's good luck. Just a little. Haha, the 1,000-year-old snow lotus I used to refine the silver snow pill are all collections of charm, Lung Ruoxue said with a light smile. Mine is master's, Lung Ruoxue said elegantly as she lay on Lung Ruoxue's lap and ate the silver snow fish. Lass, I can finally tell that your beasts are very powerful and have many treasures, the little old man said with envy. What he implied was that Schwer's beasts were rich. Master, are you despising us? A snow leopard lying at the little old man's feet eating delicious silver snow fish complained. No. The little old man hurriedly comforted. Boo-hoo. How could he have forgotten that his beast was right beside him? Alas, brother leopard, Master obviously despises us. Who asked us to be poor? A golden lion said again, its golden eyes full of disappointment. Alas, it also admitted that they were indeed poor compared to Charm and the other beasts. They were once overlords of an area, so why didn't they have any valuable collections? How depressing. The little old man was speechless. Boo-hoo. He really didn't mean to despise them. He only had these two beasts. If he really despised them, he would have contracted other beasts long ago. After all, it wasn't like he hadn't encountered beasts stronger than them in all these years. However, those were not his cup of tea. Haha. Lung Ruoxue couldn't help but laugh when she saw the little old man's aggrieved expression. Then she stretched out her slender, jade-like hand and gently caressed the snow leopard and the golden lion. These two beasts were also quite cute. Lass, you're still laughing. Boo-hoo. The little old man's expression became even more aggrieved, and he was depressed in his heart. Bad girl, you actually laughed at me. Haha, Grandpa do. I'm done eating. Eat slowly. Lung Ruoxue said with a light smile. Then she pulled the freak beside her to stand up and walked directly toward the purple bamboo hut. I'm done eating too. Enjoy. Empty stood up and left. After a long while, everyone was almost done eating. Fengde and the others consciously packed their things and returned to their rooms. The next morning, Chapter 603. Where do you want to take me? 4. Lung Ruoxue and the others left the bracelet and returned to their room after breakfast. Miss, what are we doing today? Fengde looked at Lung Ruoxue, sitting on a stone bench in the yard, and couldn't help asking. It was inconvenient to stay in the Alchemist Association now, so they couldn't stay in the space all day. In a daze, Lung Ruoxue said calmly. Daze? Why are you in a daze? Fengde asked in puzzlement. They weren't bored to the point of needing to be in a daze, right? What else? Lung Ruoxue asked with a light smile. The Wu family was in a hurry to find alchemists to refine the snake accumulation pill, so they had no time to deal with them. Miss, we can take a walk on the streets and ask about the Wu family, Fengda suggested. Oh, Lung Ruoxue said with a spurious smile. Hee, don't think she didn't know that going for a walk on the streets was probably their main goal. Miss, we can't cultivate during the day now. Fengda couldn't help explaining. Boo-hoo. Miss Gaze made him feel so guilty. Yes, that's true. Let's take a walk on the streets then. Lung Ruoxue agreed with a light smile, not exposing Fengda's intentions. Just as Lung Ruoxue and the others were about to go out, there was a knock on the door. Everyone looked out along the fence and happened to see Ningda standing outside the door with an excited face. Fengda, go open the door. Lung Ruoxue ordered. Yes, Fengda answered, walked over, and opened the door. Miss Long, thank you for your snow spirit pill. My injuries are all healed. After following Fengda into the yard, Ningda saw Lung Ruoxue sitting in the yard and bowed very respectfully, his face full of gratitude. Boo-hoo. He could finally become an alchemist again. President Ning, it's just a mere snow spirit pill. It's nothing to me. However, not everyone is qualified to receive my effort. Lung Ruoxue's beautiful face had a faint smile as she said nonchalantly. What she implied was that she was also looking at others to be kind. I understand, President Ning said very respectfully and took the initiative to call himself a subordinate. President Ning, we intend to take a walk on the streets, Lung Ruoxue said softly, ignoring Ningda's words. Miss, just call me Ningda. I'll go with you. No one in Moon Gazing City has dared to not give me face. You will have fewer troubles with me around? Ningda quickly said. Boo-hoo. He had to perform well and strive to become Miss Subordinate as soon as possible. Okay. Lung Ruoxue nodded slightly. Since Ningda wanted to perform, she would give him a chance. After all, she had a good impression of Ningda. Miss, please. Ningda bowed slightly and made an inviting gesture. Ningda, you have to lead the way. Lung Ruoxue reminded with a light smile. Yes, miss, Ningda said shyly. He was so excited that he forgot that his miss was not familiar with Moon Gaze City. Lung Ruoxue and the others walked side by side with Ningda, while Fengda and the others followed behind them. Everyone left the Alchemist Association. Ningda, bring us to some less crowded and very representative places. Forget about crowded and lively places, Lung Ruoxue ordered as soon as they exited the Alchemist Association. Yes. Ningda looked at Lung Ruoxue and the other's stunning appearance and said in realization, Miss, the flower viewing convention in Moon Gazing City is in a few days. I've received an invitation. Are Miss and the others interested? Ningda asked as he walked. In his opinion, he would accompany Lung Ruoxue and the others if they wanted to see the commotion. If they didn't want to see, then he wouldn't go either. Is there anything interesting about the flower viewing convention? My subordinates want to take a look, Lung Ruoxue said indifferently. Miss, Wu Qin'er originally wanted to participate in the flower viewing convention, but now that she's seriously injured, I'm afraid she won't have the chance to participate. It's said that this year's champion has a chance to become the young madam of the Guanyu family, Ningdu explained. Oh, then didn't we ruin the Wu family's plan? Lung Ruoxue said with a smile. No wonder Wu Qin'er was so arrogant. It seemed like she was very confident in winning the championship. Yes, so we are bound to have a feud with the Wu family, Ningda said with certainty. What a stunning beauty. Guards, take this beauty away. Suddenly, an uninvited voice interrupted Lung Ruoxue and Ningda's conversation. Lung Ruoxue looked up at the frivolous man in front of her with her beautiful eyes and said with a spurious smile, Where do you want to bring me? Bring her home to be my concubine, of course. Hee. The man smiled wretchedly, his eyes shining with lust. You. Lung Ruoxue looked the man up and down with her beautiful eyes and said mockingly. The man in front of him was about 20 years old. He had a greasy head and a pink face. His eyes were dull, and his handsome face was dull. His figure was slightly chubby, and he was obviously a person who had indulged in too much. Moreover, this person's strength was not high, and he was only a mystic. Beauty, do you know who I am? Follow me and I will guarantee you a good life, and a good life. So, don't hesitate. Hurry up and throw yourself into my arms. I will definitely love you well, the man said with slight pride. He almost drooled as he looked at Long Ruox's beautiful appearance. Hee, I really don't know who you are. Why don't you introduce yourself? Long Ruoxue said with a light smile, her beautiful face full of undisguised disgust for the man. I'm Guan Yu Lai, the most favored ninth young master of the Guan Yu family. How is it? I scared you, Guan Yu Lai said with a face full of pride. In his understanding, as long as he announced his family, all the women he liked would take the initiative to enter his arms. Guan Yu Lai? I've never heard of him. Have you heard of him? Long Ruoxue frowned slightly and turned to Ning De. No. Guan Yu, she is the most famous among the young masters of the Guan Yu family. I don't know who Guan Yu Lai is, Ning De said very disdainfully. Chapter 604. Being Robbed 1. How dare you humiliate this young master? Guards, take these people down. Guan Yueli immediately roared mightily after hearing Ning De's words. This man absolutely couldn't let go of anyone who dared to humiliate him in front of a beauty. Didn't you say that no one dares to not give you face in moon-gazing city? Then what happened? Long Ruoxue looked at Ning De in puzzlement. Her clear eyes were pure and kind. In fact, she had been laughing in her heart for a long time. She was thinking about how to cause trouble for the Guan Yu family when a fool came knocking on her door. There will always be fish that escaped the net, Ning De said shamelessly, but he hated Guan Yu Lai to the core in his heart. Damn it. He actually embarrassed himself in front of Miss and the others. It was really unforgivable. At this moment, a huge cross was drawn on the Guan Yu Lai family in his heart. Oh, what do you intend to do with this fish? Long Ruoxue asked calmly, completely ignoring Guan Yu Lai and the others who were watching her drool. Do whatever Miss says. I have no interest in either steamed or braised, Ning De said very respectfully and handed the decision to Long Ruoxue. All right, then listen to me. Long Ruoxue nodded with satisfaction.
Yes.
Ning De nodded slightly. That Guan Yu Lai, right? Do you intend to snatch me away? Long Ruoxue turned to Guan Yu Lai and asked after communicating with Ning De. Of course there's no need to go through so much trouble if you're willing to take the initiative to come home with me. However, don't blame me for not being protective of the fairer sex if you refuse a toast only to be forced to drink a forfeit. I love beauties the most, Guan Yu Lai said with extreme confidence. Of course not taking the initiative to follow you home. Snatch it if you dare. Long Ruoxue said with a smile. Guards, kidnap this beauty. Guan Yu Lai ordered the guard without thinking after hearing Long Ruoxue's words. Young master, what about the others? A guard couldn't help asking. In fact, what he wanted to say was that the other party obviously had more people than them. It would probably be difficult to snatch them by force. However, he also knew that young master was already blinded by beauty and would definitely not listen to him, so he didn't dare to say it too clearly. Kill the others to avoid trouble. Leave the beauty alone. Guan Yu Lai was not stupid and naturally would not leave any trouble for herself. Are you sure you can kill them? Long Ruoxue's beautiful face revealed a breathtaking smile as she said lightly to Guan Yu Lai. Of course, Guan Yu Lai said very confidently. His subordinates were all the elites of the Guan Yu family. It would not be a problem even if they had twice the number of people compared to them, let alone deal with them. Don't kill us. Take our young miss away. Feng De couldn't help but interrupt, his handsome face full of fear. That's right. You can snatch our young miss as long as you don't kill us. Moreover, we are willing to go with you. Lin Yuan also hooted. Ning De couldn't help but be at a loss for words when he heard them. He couldn't help but grumble in his heart. How can you be my subordinates? How can you hope that my young miss will be snatched away? Haha, your subordinates are wise. Guan Yueli became even more smug after hearing what Feng De and Lin Yuan said. Yes. Long Ruoxue couldn't help rolling her eyes. She was sure now that this Guan Yueli was really a fool. Ordinary people would probably be suspicious if they heard what her subordinate said. However, that fellow was actually still smug. He was really of the best quality. What are you waiting for? Hurry up and snatch this beauty away from me. Oh, right, and her subordinates. Guan Yueli turned to his guards and ordered. Humph. He didn't believe that the beauty wouldn't be obedient with these subordinates of the beauty. He thought self-righteously, yes. The guards hesitated, not knowing whether they should go forward or not, because they could see that these people were not to be trifled with. However, the young master, who had been blinded by beauty, obviously did not see it. Hee, you don't have to be troubled. Just lead the way. Our miss won't run. Fengde said with a smile. Fengde. Ningde looked at Fengde and hesitated. Boo-hoo. He could finally tell that this boy didn't have good intentions. But could he not go to the Guan Yu family as a guest? It would be very embarrassing if others knew that he was actually snatched back by Guan Yueli. Boo-hoo. His good reputation. Old Ning, our young miss has been snatched away. How can you not follow as a subordinate? Aren't you too disloyal? Fengde hugged Ningde's shoulder and said with slight disdain. What he implied was that they had to face difficulties together if they wanted to become the young miss subordinate. Fengde, pay some money and let him go, Lung Ruoxue said after some thought. Fengde was stunned and didn't understand what Miss meant for a moment. What did she mean by paying Ningde to leave? Why did she have to pay him? He's our tour guide. How can we let him suffer with us? Lung Ruoxue glanced at Fengde. Oh, that's true. Since you're only our young miss temporary subordinate, you should go first. Fengde said hurriedly and took out a few purple coins from the bracelet to hand to Ningde. Yes, they'll take my leave first. Ningde played the role of a tour guide very responsibly. He accepted the purple coins happily and then turned to leave. Young master, we can't let that person leave. Chapter 605. Being Robbed 2. Aren't you going to snatch me by force? How are you going to snatch me from behind? Lung Ruoxue raised her eyebrows curiously. That's true. You guys lead the way while the others watch them from behind. Don't let any of them go. Guan Yueli ordered loudly. 2 drops of cold sweat involuntarily dripped down the forehead of his guards after hearing Guan Yuli's words. They thought to themselves, we've already let one of them go just now, so what's the use of looking at him now? However, they were not too worried about the person who escaped. After all, Moon-Gazing City was in the territory of the Guan Yu family, so they didn't think anyone would dare to cause trouble for the Guan Yu family. In this way, Lung Ruoxue and the others followed Guan Yuli's guard and swaggered into the main mansion of the Guan Yu family. Instead of saying that Guan Yueli robbed them, it was more like Guan Yueli sent people to protect them from behind. Hee. They had guards in front and behind them. On the way to the Guan Yu family, Guan Yueli kept wanting to talk to Lung Ruoxue, but Lung Ruoxue couldn't even be bothered with him. She was annoyed by him, so she directly summoned Charm and Darling and covered her ears with their fluffy big tails. In a side yard of the Guan Yu family. In the yard. Beauty, how dare you ignore me? Guan Yueli roared furiously after sneaking Lung Ruoxue and the others to a yard that had been abandoned for many years. Humph. He gritted his teeth in hatred when he saw the 2 foxes lying on the bowtie's shoulder. Why should I care about you? Lung Ruoxue couldn't even be bothered to look at Guan Yueli. She directly pulled the freak to a seat and leaned comfortably in his arms. Who is this man? Guan Yueli couldn't help asking with some jealousy when he saw that the woman he liked was actually leaning on another man. Humph. The beauty was snatched back by him. Of course it belonged to him. How could it be taken advantage of by another man? My fiancé. Lung Ruoxue kissed the freak's beautiful face a little provocatively and then said to Guan Yueli, Damn it, I snatched you back. How can you kiss another man? Guan Yueli was about to explode from anger. She immediately jumped and roared furiously as if her tail had been stepped on. He's not another man. He's my man. Lung Ruoxue stretched out her arms to hug the freak and said with a blissful face, I'm your only man. Humph. I must kill him, Guan Yueli said with some jealousy. He took out a weapon from his ring, injected his meager mystic energy into it, and slashed directly at the freak. "Calm down, hear me," the freak hurriedly said as he hugged Schwer and easily dodged the attack. "What do you want to say?" Guan Yulei's heart trembled as he asked carefully. At the same time, he kept comforting himself in his heart. It's okay. All beauties had to have some character. Otherwise, wouldn't they be a piece of wood? And he liked women with character. Otherwise, they'll castrate him and make him unable to touch any woman in his life. Long Ruoshues said with a spurious smile. Her beautiful eyes swept lightly below Guan Yulei's abdomen. Guan Yulei's entire body trembled under Long Ruox's gaze, and he subconsciously covered his precious life root with his hand. Boo-hoo. He couldn't be castrated. He was still counting on this treasure to have fun. What would he do for the rest of his life if it was broken? A beauty with character was really too terrifying. Please report us if you find any errors so we can fix it ASAP. You're tuning in to the Romance Rendezvous YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.